Yeah. No. Futurama, all that is.
Now, I thought Futurama was better than the other two. Was better than Simpsons or Family Guy. King of the Hill was better than all three of the others. But that was because it had like a conservative twist to it.
Yeah.
But I never really watched them all. So I don't know. Anyways.
Sure sounds like you did.
No. 3, 2.
You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Some shows are niche shows, talking about specific topics. Others, shows about nothing. This show is the show about everything. On The Front Porch Show, we'll talk about current events, some news, a little bit of politics, along with a whole lot of life. Welcome to our Front Porch.
1-402-799-1811. That is the message line number. You're listening to The Front Porch Show. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and those who aren't quite sure.
Oh, boy.
I don't think people are listening for that reason.
Well, if I'm welcoming everyone, I'm being all-inclusive. I don't know what you're... Why are you mocking my inclusivity?
I was mocking your insulting of people, but
I wasn't insulting.
That may not be an insult.
I was welcoming.
So
I don't see where this is going, gentlemen.
Continue.
Go for it.
I'm just taking a drink off my water here to ignore the awkward silences. I'm just saying, guys. Oh my goodness. How's it going, guys? It feels like it's been forever since we've gotten together.
It's been exactly 7 days.
Exactly 7 days.
It's rough.
Thank you, Trebek. Anyways.
Don't look
No,
that
that'd be Sean Connery.
That'd be Sean Connery. I'm sorry. Wow.
You can't even get the insult.
Can't even get the joke right.
It's a long.
I
gonna be
give
a long
up.
day.
It is.
All
It
right.
is. Wow. Guys, Ozzy, what you mentioned this week over text these documentaries you've been watching.
Yeah.
And tell me about them. It's intrigued me. And
we're just diving right in.
Yeah, no, I want to know because
way to prep me on that.
It has piqued my curiosity and has
all I'm watching, it is not that exciting. All I'm watching is I started a documentary of the first one was of Hitler Youth. And it's about it's exactly what it sounds like. It's about the kids of the Hitler Youth and how they
been
were
looking for childcare tips.
Right. And how they were influenced and like the potential of what they wanted them to become had the Third Reich actually not fallen and become a
so what was the eventual goal?
Eventual goal was to take over the world, obviously, but to have a essentially this race of, I don't know if superhumans is the right word.
Yeah, perfect the master race.
Right, but they were supposed to be smarter, better, and they were influencing everything around them, and just the. I got through the first episode. I have to watch it slow because it really gets me because of watching my kids, and it's like I a lot of it I don't understand how you could do to children because it's the brutality of a lot of what it was. They were bringing them up to be essentially without feeling, without having enmity without what is it compassion towards others, unless they were of, German Aryan descent specifically. Like the requirements for even becoming a Hitler Youth where you had to prove your Aryanness back to, I think it was like the 1800s, like the early 1800s, like your ancestry, to just prove and get into these schools, I guess, if you want to call them. So, and then once you're in the school, it's essentially a military camp for kids to teach you how to, be the most ruthless and the I want to say smartest, but what they were telling you is that basically like it was smartest as far as what they were teaching you, So think about like smartest in tactics and different things, not actually critical thinking along the lines of
not
like,
overall,
like
not
an elite
overall
school.
intelligence,
right? Because they compared them, I guess, because before everybody knew all of this was like hugely evil, they would have kids from other schools come there that were from these elite schools in Europe. And they said that they couldn't really compete with the kids as far as intellectual knowledge. But
they were smart in the things they wanted them to be smart in, and dumb in the things they didn't want them to be smart in.
Right. And the thing is,
doesn't lead to overall intelligence. Yeah.
Right. So it was very eye-opening.
Like any other massive government centralized program, it actually leads to a lowering in the quality.
Well, it's that least common denominator mentality.
But I don't think that they had a least in this case. I don't, without having watched the documentary myself, from what I know of it, because I used to love studying.
No. I like you taking a step out. Keep going.
I don't think that they were unlike certain government programs today. That program was not conceding to the lowest common denominator.
Right.
Their priorities were just on the wrong things.
Right.
So they were creating a structure whereby if they had eventually taken over the world, it doesn't matter if you're really smart at this type of history or whatever, because these people are inferior and should be exterminated anyways. You need to be smart in athletics, history. Again, you've been asking me. I just finally started watching The Man in the High Castle.
How do you like that so far?
To this point.
It's pretty good.
I'm enjoying it. I feel like, I don't know. I got through the first season. I'm in the second season. It's a little annoying to me because I feel like it's lacking in just a little bit of explanation of what is actually going on.
Yeah, you don't get that for like the first two seasons.
Yeah,
exactly. Like the vagueness
it'll all
of the
explain
films,
itself.
The vagueness of the films, like there's entire episodes where you forget the films are even part of the plot because it's just more like the daily life under the American Reich or the the Japanese states. And
I'm just hoping it doesn't turn into an ending like Lost.
But I feel like
isn't it over?
Did.
I thought it was over.
I think the last season's out.
I was going to say Man in the High Castle. It's over.
I haven't watched it.
Okay. I'm not going to. I won't give anything away.
I'm not. I'm about where Jeff is actually on about midway through season 2.
Okay. But they, I feel like, do a good job of demonstrating what the world would have looked like under a worldwide Reich, or at least half the world Reich, because the Japanese have the other half of the world at this point in the movie. Right. But from things like, well, if your kid's sick with a congenital disease that is incurable, the doctor's recommendation is, well, you have to exterminate them. And if you're more important, I'll give you the option to kill them quietly at home, but eventually it's got to be reported to the government. And stuff like, Ben's talking about of like essentially baby factories where they were trying to perfect selective breeding to perfect the race, and the education where, there's a scene where they're helping someone who has just fled to the Reich from the Japanese states study for this citizenship exam. And like, you hear one question as they're studying, and it's like, from where does justice derive? And it all goes back to justice derives from the Führer, who is in charge of the Reich, blah, 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 blah.
That's terrifying.
Very scary things like that. And so it's that they were very smart and very capable and very athletic within the way that they were taught. But you see the total, like, just disregard for like other races and stuff. It's funny. The term that gets used a lot in the show is, we hear a lot about anti-Semitism today, and they're going around calling all the bad people Semites. Like, it's the complete opposite. The script is flipped. And obviously that's what the world would have looked like if the Nazis had won. But
and that's why I find Man in the High Castle very interesting, especially going through with this documentary that I'm watching now. Because one of the main things was they taught like extreme racism, So they would go through, they showed these books, and these are like kids' books, like little kids' books and stuff. And they would start them out at like, as soon as you could learn to read, you're reading these books about, oh, you know what? This is the type of people that we don't like.
That's
so that Dr. Seuss, it was like, Dr. Himmler.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, we don't like the Semites because of this, or whatever, and they're evil, and they're, whatever it was. And then they go through, and they were talking about, like, middle school, and they would go through profiling.
Wow.
And we always talk about profiling, how, it is necessary in some ways.
Yeah.
But this is, like, the extreme horrible example of, like, okay, well, you're looking for this type of a nose. And if somebody has this type of a nose, if they have a forehead that's high, if they have
measuring
this shade,
measuring your face,
skin,
measuring your head.
Yeah.
Yes,
there was crazy.
There's an episode where this person's seeking asylum in the American Reich, and they're literally going through these tests measuring her head.
Yeah.
They have a set of cards on a ring, and they're measuring the skin tones up against them.
Yeah.
So that's
an accurate description and explanation, because that's what they were showing you during the documentary. And you're like, oh my gosh, like school age kids are learning.
Don't go to the beach and get a tan.
So here's a question for you, Ben. I mean, you've got 3-4 kids. I don't know how many you have. You have enough. Do your kids know race?
No.
Like, I was thinking about that the other day. So
no, I mean, they've noticed people have different shades of skin.
So like,
but I mean, the explanation anytime, like they've asked, okay, well, why does that person darker or whatever? And it's just that's God made different people. So, it's like people are made in the image of God, but under that, like, have different shades. But that doesn't mean that they're any more.
You mean your wife?
You or me?
Your wife didn't go off on an explanation of the amount of melanin in their skin and like that.
No, not yet.
Okay,
not yet. I'm sure that'll come up as soon as we get into science in a couple of years.
So
I was into that, but
I had that weird thought the other day, like,
as nurse wife. So I just figured it might go that way.
Yeah. it will. I'm sure it will.
So I mean, we're in the Midwest. We have a very high Hispanic population. Not so many black folks, some African American folks. And I was like, yeah, my kids, I don't think they know, like, and we know folks of different skin tones.
Right.
But it's never ever been a question. It's never been oh. And we don't want it to be. We don't want it to be. We don't care. Yeah. I mean, who cares? We have
several people that I work with who are African American or whatever else, and I'll see them in the store with the kids and stuff, and it's and we'll interact, and it's never come up, It's just it's normal.
Guys,
and I think it's definitely a learned thing.
I do not believe you because I watch the news. And I know that America is more racist now than it has ever been. It's mostly due to the most racist president we've ever had in our entire lifetime, who is currently presiding over us. Come on, guys. You got to keep up with the times here.
Good heavens, Jeff. We're going to go put him in his place.
We know that racism is just rampant. On the right, especially. How can you say your kids don't recognize race?
Oh my goodness.
And on that note,
is it too early for sarcasm this morning?
Well, the sign says that it's 4 quarters for an hour, but a quarter only gets you 15 minutes. So if my math is correct, that's not an hour.
I'm ducking and everything. Guys in the house, I got scared. I dropped my hot pocket.
So, guys, this is the second episode since the Super Bowl. Last week we announced that either San Francisco or Kansas City would win.
Sadly.
which Kansas City did win.
No. I think somebody also announced that Green Bay potentially
Yes.
would win.
I think that may have happened as well.
So there was that.
At least I got the team. At least my team was in the Super Bowl, Aaron.
Which not to throw us off, but are we going to revisit? Are we going to revisit our score predictions?
I was nowhere near, obviously.
I hate to say it. I lost the paperwork.
I have it right here.
Oh!
Tell me.
All right. So Super Bowl.
I was nowhere near it.
On 54 score predictions from the Front Porch Show, which you forced us to do. Yes, you forced us to do teams and scores, which I never do scores because I'm terrible at stuff like that. Ozzy's picks.
He's gloating in this,
He's gloating.
I can see
He's
his
gloating.
face. I know.
Ozzy's picks. San
That's the only reason we're
Francisco.
doing it.
I know. I was gonna blow right past it.
Nope. I was going to do this no matter who won.
Yeah,
we had
sure.
to follow up for the listeners. We had
Keeping
to.
us honest.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Ozzy's pick. San Francisco a winner, 45-38. So Ozzy went for the offensive shootout.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Did not happen.
No, it did not.
Mathis, correct winner, Kansas City, 35-28, which is a very believable.
What was the end score of the game?
I thought Mathis might beat me there. My prediction.
What was the score?
Kansas. We're getting there. My predictions: Kansas City, 34-21. The final score of the game: Kansas City 31, San Francisco 20.
So you missed it.
I was off by 4 total points.
It's close.
That is pretty darn close. I was hoping. I was trying.
That is good.
I was literally sitting there trying to devise a way that San Francisco could have got one more point. Which I think the only way would be a blocked and returned extra point, right? Because you get a point. You get a point for that, not a touchdown for that. Or can you even score on a blocked extra point now? I'm showing my lack of intimate knowledge.
I think you can. I don't remember the point.
I think it's 1 point. I think it's 1 point for returning it.
Well, that's not even worth it.
So right there at the end, I was hoping they blocked the last touchdown extra point. But then, of course, that would have taken a point away from Kansas City. So
it would have been a wash.
It wouldn't have helped either way. It'd have been a wash. Although if Kansas City could have, instead of kneeling to end it, driven down and kicked a field goal, come on, guys.
It's true.
So, yes. Also, I want to know how many people lost bets on, like, the lost yardage from the kneel downs at the end of the game.
Here you go. You can return a blocked extra point attempt for 2 points.
Oh, so it's a 2 point. So it wouldn't have helped me. So there was no way for them to score 1 point only.
Okay.
No.
Isn't that interesting?
But yes, I was pretty proud of myself for that. And I think I even predicted, I'd have to go back and listen, that Kansas City was going to go down and come from behind to win.
You did, actually. I listened to the episode last week, so I shouldn't have told you that.
Which is not based on how they played all through the playoffs, was not exactly a hard prediction.
No, it was good.
I thought it was going to be a lot higher, and then it was.
I thought it was going to be a shoot. I did think it was going to be more of a shootout.
Yeah. I did. I thought it was going to be higher, and I thought it was going to be like right out of the gate. We were going to get a high score, and San Francisco they did really well the first like 3 quarters. They did pretty well. They couldn't score, but they were doing pretty well at holding Kansas City. But in the end, I was looking at the score going, "There's all they have to do is mess up once, and they're done for." And they did, and it was like 3 or 4 minutes into the fourth or something, and all of a sudden, it was like they had no hope.
What blew my mind was I thought San Francisco was going to pull it off because they're such a ball control team and run the clock, and they can run the ball really. I mean, they ran the ball all over Green Bay, and then they come out and just throw, and give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, and that was terrible decision making on their part. So,
but.
I thought it was overall it was a good game. Did not.
So now we have to
Kansas City.
Yes.
Which is not in Kansas, by the way.
There is a Kansas City, Missouri, and there's a Kansas City, Kansas.
True, there is one in each. However, this one.
All right. Honestly, did you? I'm sure Aaron probably did because he's out there. did you actually know Kansas City was not in Kansas? Because I think I knew it was in Missouri, but I still thought it was in Kansas.
I guess
most people that
most people do, yeah.
Most people that I ask were like, yeah, it's in Kansas, and I'm like I knew that it was that they were in Missouri. It's like
I guess I don't know
that, oh yeah, you know what? That's not actually like matching up with what you're saying.
I don't know if like off the top of my head if you're like where's because I know Kansas I guess it's one of those little factoids that sticks with me that Kansas City is not in Kansas, it's in Missouri.
Yeah.
So because of that weird connection, it sticks in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there is a Kansas City in Kansas, but the Kansas City is in Missouri.
Yeah. It was great though. I love. Did you guys see? You guys saw Trump's tweet?
Oh yeah.
About that. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good.
I laughed quite a lot.
At least someone fixed it.
That's
now.
Awesome.
Do you think it was Trump who tweeted that, or do you think it was?
Do you think it's Trump that tweets any of this, or do you think his like media person just tweets like him?
Has anyone ever seen Trump with a phone?
That's a good point.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Think about how secure the president's phone would have to be.
He probably has somebody walking behind him, and he goes, "You know what? Tweet something like this," or dictates to him what to tweet. Maybe
no. He tweets from his golden toilet at 2 a.m. with his tiny thumbs. That's what happens.
I heard the story from a guy who worked in the White House, who Trump got on the elevator one morning. This guy was. He worked in the press office or something. Trump got on the elevator and looks over at the guy and goes, "See what I tweeted last night?" And so he definitely does tweet.
You know somebody that worked in the White House press office?
I heard no. Context. I heard an interview with someone. Yeah. Yeah. No.
You made that
not
sound
me. I'm
like
sorry.
You had much more direct knowledge.
No.
That's what I heard.
No, because otherwise that person would be on the show. Are you kidding?
You have connections to Donald Trump, and we're not utilizing this.
No, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
What?
So, guys, we got to get to the important part of the Super Bowl, and that was not the halftime show. That was the.
No, I'm not going to say it.
That was the commercials. The commercials.
Absolutely. That's the most.
Which I was disappointed, guys.
Really?
I was sorely disappointed.
There were some funny ones. They've definitely cleaned them up comparative to like the 90s and the halftime show.
But Ken, you weren't as moved by the commercials as you were by the halftime show. I'm
going to ignore you. It was funny because I did not think the commercials were as good as they have been in past years.
And here's my theory. Here's my theory on this, though.
That's why.
Here's my theory on this, Mattis. When Super Bowl commercials first became a thing, advertisers just realized lots of people are going to be watching this game, so let's make a really catchy commercial.
Yeah,
and we're paying a lot for and then as the spots got more expensive, we're paying a lot for the spot, so let's just make it a really catchy commercial.
All right.
There's like this massive pressure and this massive like Super Bowl commercials are the thing, and there's so much hype about it,
and they're supposed to be funny, and
they're overhyped. They're overhyped, so our expectations are really high. And B, you know what happens when creative people get into that rut where they're forced to make something and it has to be the best that it's ever been, and you're on a timetable and it's all overhyped and you're worried about offending 15 different categories of people. It kills most things.
I mean, back in the day,
I feel like it's not organic.
Back in the day, we'd have like the Clydesdales.
Back in the day, there was
frogs.
Like a surprise.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here you go. What is the one? What is the
90s,
one
baby.
Super Bowl commercial ever that just sticks in your mind as being really funny?
Man. Okay.
I feel like he's got one in my. I don't know that I have a specific one.
It was Miller Lite. Miller Lite.
Okay.
Miller Lite had the big black guy on, and he just hilarious dude, and he So they had this setup where he would literally be the truck driver delivering the Miller Lite.
Okay.
And he'd say some catchy thing like, "Oh, it's Miller time, baby," or something. And during the Super Bowl, they did a 3-second spot where it pops up. He's standing there and he screams, "Miller time," and that was it.
Who was the guy?
I don't remember.
Wow,
he was awesome.
Yeah,
you lost me there.
Yeah.
No, and folks, if you ever have a feeling that things just go weird on the show, you're getting a look into Mathis's mind.
Oh,
and how
it's true.
works.
It really
This
is.
is what happens, and then we'll look it up, and then it'll be like, this is completely different from what you just told us.
It probably happened at a Super Bowl before he was born, but he remembers it.
This was in 2009.
Did it have Ronald Reagan in it?
Yeah,
it was Miller Lite's.
Did a wall come down?
Miller Lite's 1-second Super Bowl ad.
There you go. Well,
all right.
So just so you guys understand how Mathis's mind works, he explained it to me one time.
Would you like me to explain it to the audience?
And from what I recall, his mind is like sand, little bugs.
No, Jeff.
On it,
Jeff,
but they're not just on it; they're jumping up and down on the sand.
Jeff, have you ever felt like your mind was just sand? Not the loose, fluffy sand.
Yes.
But the hard packed sand. And there's bugs. Little bugs. Just jumping up and down. Up and down.
Folks, Mathis came back to the dorm room from a shower at like 6:30 in the morning.
It was amazing.
And opens the door and just looks at me and pretty much says that almost word for word. You can tell it scarred me because I remember most of it.
Your face was gold.
I thought he had lost.
Well, I had, but
I was ready to call campus security and have him thrown in a straitjacket. It was very interesting.
They were going to throw him in a straitjacket?
Hey, they had those on campus. They had those.
They didn't need a lot of campus security.
So
they needed a lot of straitjacket.
All right, here we go. The one Super Bowl commercial that sticks in my mind that I liked was from like the mid 90s, I think, and it was a Pepsi one. And it was the Pepsi Bears and they were spelling out PEPSI. You don't remember that?
I didn't know that Pepsi had bears.
Yes.
That was Coke, isn't it?
No,
Coca-Cola Polar Bear.
There were grizzly bears. Grizzly bears, and they came out of the woods to the Pepsi machine, and it was like the...
yes, I remember that too. I remember it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was good.
As I sit here on the spot, I can't even remember a commercial that I'm sure was specifically a Super Bowl commercial. That's just how much I like brain dump this stuff.
Yeah, I remember that, though. I remember that. There were the EDS commercials. There was like the cat herders commercial. That was good. That was definitely good.
Was that a Super Bowl commercial? Because I do remember I do remember the cat herder commercial.
I'm pretty sure it was. There were the Outpost.com commercials. Do you remember those? Where they shot the gerbil out of the cannon? They were like, we're gonna to help you remember our name, and then they got sued. To help you remember our name, we're gonna shoot this gerbil through an outpost from a cannon, and apparently they were actually shooting gerbils.
Oh my goodness!
They didn't have graphics to.
It was so funny. But I forever remember that name, but I think they went out of business like 10 years ago or 12 years ago or something. Oh,
okay. One of my favorites was the Cadillac commercial from 2014.
Oh, okay.
That
really narrows it down.
It was this rich guy kind of standing there, and
sounds like every
hold
Cadillac commercial ever.
Hold on. And he goes basically on this rant of American exceptionalism and how cool we are. And he's like,
Trump?
No, it wasn't. And then he goes, and we left a car on the moon. Why? Because someday we're going back.
Yes,
and that was, and
I remember that.
It was just a great commercial. This was before Trump. This was before Make America Great Again. This was before all that. And
I remember that commercial.
It was so heartwarming. I was like, yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was a Cadillac commercial.
Yeah, it was I know.
I'd have figured it was like a Ford commercial.
I'd never buy a Cadillac, but I was like, that got me.
That was good.
So we've reminisced, but what about this year's Super Bowl commercials?
All right, this year's let's see. The one that I liked was the Smart Park one. That one, I think that to me that one was the funniest one.
It didn't get me like cracking up or anything, but it was good. It was good.
Now I have to say,
it was the star-studded. The stars. It was good.
Oh yeah, it was who was it? Chris Evans, John Krasinski, and
I never remember her name.
Yeah, it's that chick from SNL.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I feel terrible for that. What in the world?
I never remember her name.
Debbie Downer. Debbie Downer.
Is her name actually Debbie Downer?
No.
It is not. Oh, it's like there's no way.
It's Rachel.
Because it would be awesome. Because that would be awesome.
It's Rachel Dract.
I remember that.
Is that what her name is? I honestly don't know that I've ever paid attention to her actual name.
I feel terrible about that. Yeah.
Now I have to say, of all of the commercials for completely useless and impractical stuff, that is the commercial that has a completely useless and impractical thing. All right. So
you don't want to be able to get out of your car and let it park itself?
Think about this. All right. So in the commercial, they park in a spot that's too narrow. Okay.
Which means the person next to you.
Brand new car, and you're going to park it a foot from either car on either side.
So which for one person
doesn't get hit by a door when they have to get in their cars.
Which for one person might be okay if it's only a driver in the other one, but in the one where the driver needs to get in,
right, you're going to get dents on both of your doors,
and they're just going to key your car or something.
Right.
So.
It is Boston. It is Boston.
It is. It's Smart Park. That's when your Smart Park isn't so smart.
It is true.
Let's see what else. There was the Cool Ranch Doritos one. With
I don't know if I saw that.
I don't know if I saw that.
There was so much just chaos going on in the house that we didn't even really pay that much attention to the commercials.
It was with Sam Elliott in it.
Oh yes. It
was the one with Sam Elliott where his
mustache dances. Okay, yes.
That was humorous.
It was that one. That one was pretty
also
good.
I'm afraid that there's a whole generation of people that believe Old Town Road is a country song, and that's what country music is.
Well, haven't you heard modern country music? I mean, that's kind of what it is.
I know, unfortunately. I know.
So now that we just insulted a bunch of our listeners.
All right. So,
I'm not completely against. I'm not saying we all have to be listening to like Conway Twitty or anything, but some of the newest country music it's a little rough for me. There's some songs I like, and there's some songs that are
Conway
just
Twitty.
weird.
How about
Heaven help us, baby.
All right, so Aaron, you're a Pats fan, right?
Yeah. What are you going to insult me now?
What did you think of Tom Brady's Hulu commercial?
So the audio wasn't even up that loud when it came on.
Dude,
and I'm like, no way.
No.
Is he really going to announce his retirement at a halftime
I know.
commercial?
I was like,
this. It was pretty legit at the beginning.
Man,
like, I was like,
so good.
This might be the way he does it.
And then it was like, and Hulu told me to say this, and it was like,
that one was good.
So he still, as far as I know, he still has not signed a contract with the Pats yet.
I don't think so.
He might go somewhere else, but I don't think he's done playing football.
They say they're willing to give him $30 million for this year, but the problem is he wants a multi-year contract, and that no one in their right mind would give it to him unless they're desperate.
Yeah,
and Pats aren't desperate apparently. So, which I would be if you've seen the second string.
But the Pats have a mole at Detroit. If Matthew Stafford's back is actually okay, I could see Detroit trying to get Tua at the third spot this year, trading Stafford to the Patriots, and Stafford actually wins a freaking Super Bowl with the Patriots because he actually has a good team around him.
Well, yeah,
because Stafford's not a Brady. He's not as good as Brady, I wouldn't say.
Poor Matt Patricia there.
But he's got a good arm. He can sling. And the thing that's been holding him back is the franchise that he's been anchored with, which is the Detroit Lions, who are career killers. So
really?
I thought that was.
I would never have guessed that.
See Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson.
I thought that was the Bears.
Oh no. No, the Bears at least have some ups and
Not
downs.
the Bears. It's Cincinnati.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, Cincinnati. The Bengals.
You talking
I was
about
like,
the
the
Cleveland
Bears aren't
Browns?
that
The
bad.
Browns. The Browns.
Browns?
Yes, the Browns. Browns, Bears, Bengals. They all get
The
it.
mistake
Yeah,
on the
they're
lake.
all those B names, man.
None of them
Yeah.
have won in a long time, so what does it matter? Wow, now that we just insulted three major
What do you mean we?
Yeah,
That's,
what do you mean we,
that's-
Kimasabi?
that's Tombstone at thefrontporchshow.com.
Let's see. Oh, you know what else?
I
was
want to
a
know
funny
if
one?
Tombstone's gotten any hate mail from all of this.
He probably doesn't check any of it.
No, well,
He's going to get hate mail from me because he's turning into me and he's never on the show.
let's go look.
Did you guys switch jobs?
We
All of a
trade on
sudden
and
it was
off
like,
shifts
I know,
so
it was like
that
all
we
of a
can.
sudden it was like, for this month we're gonna have Jeff the entire month, but not Tombstone.
Well,
Last
see,
month it was like we
That's
got
how
Tombstone.
government jobs go.
they're having marital issues right now. And
and Tombstone?
Jeff and Tombstone.
Oh,
And so
I
they
was
can't.
like,
They
I
can't.
was like, hey, I
no,
haven't heard this beat. You're going to talk about Tombstone's
No,
marital issues on
no.
the show? I was like,
No,
what
the
is
two of
going
you.
on?
That is cold.
the two of you together.
man.
No,
I did not know where he was going with
He's
that.
gonna come to your house, man.
that sounded horrible, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
You're a
No.
terrible
That's-
person.
No,
All right.
Now I'm gonna have to text Tombstone
Jeff
and tell him we're talking
and
about his
Jeff
marriage.
and Jeff and. Anyways, no, I'm not even going to explain
Back
it.
to the
It's not funny
commercials.
when you
Back
explain
to
it.
the
All right,
commercials.
All right, did you guys see the Cheetos commercial with MC Hammer? The one where
I
the
think
guy
yes,
like, has cheese on his hands,
Yeah.
and then he figures out that like anytime he has
Yes,
cheese on his hands, people don't ask him to do things.
So he
and then
just
it's
like, boom.
and then
Yeah,
MC
can't
Hammer
touch
keeps
this.
coming
Yes.
in with "Can't
Yes.
touch this."
Yes.
That one was not.
Saw
bad.
that one. It made me
That
chuckle.
was not bad.
So I was kind of keeping an eye out for it because we had talked. I think we had talked about, if we hadn't talked on the show, we had talked about in text about the potential, and they were making a big deal about the first ever drag queen commercial.
I didn't
Yes.
see it.
I never even saw it.
Oh,
Did I
it was a
just- did I
hummus
just-
commercial.
Did I just glance at the TV and think it was ugly women on the TV? Sorry, I don't know. Like I was not paying
Yeah, so
close
it
enough
was-
attention
I
during the
completely
commercials
missed- yeah, I
It
completely
was
missed
to catch it.
It was a hummus commercial. It was with Ric Flair. Woo!
Oh,
Um,
right.
and a bunch of other people, and it kept like it was so fast.
It was
cutting
was it
between
just like
screens.
cutting to them.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
eating hummus or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And so
See-
it cut to him twice.
I might have seen it, but with like the volume down and people talking and just stuff going on, I never even registered it because I wasn't really paying that close
I
attention.
didn't. I didn't see it at
Do,
all. Like,
do you think? I understand all the arguments on both sides, whatever, about the fact that people are trying to normalize this, but do you think that all the build up to it by those on the conservative right was somewhat like the whole Beauty and the Beast gay scene build up? Do you remember that nonsense?
I don't remember that.
I
So
don't remember that either.
when the new Beauty and the Beast came out, the live action one, right?
with LeFou
like
Gaston.
supposedly the announcers were, or not the announcers, the promoters, whatever, the directors were like in some forum or something, were like, there's a beautiful moment, there's a beautiful gay moment, or whatever. They made some comment about how there was just going to be this gay moment, and like everybody was freaking out that they were taking and they were gonna make, homosexualize this children's movie that's being remade. And in the end, like, people were speculating it was going to be a gay kiss and all this stuff. And like, there was some weird questionable obsession with LeFou and Gaston. But I think if you look back, it probably was there, maybe to a different extent, but it was there in the animated one too.
Yeah.
Man,
And-
anything for the outrage, dude.
And
Seriously.
and
That's what
in the
sells,
end, like two guys dance together. In the final scene when everybody's dancing, two guys dance together, and for like half a second. And like that's what I'm saying. Do you think? Not that I think
That's
it's okay. Not that I'm
that's
trying to
because-
promote this. I'm not signing Ben up for Drag Queen Story Hour or anything like that.
Thank you.
But
That's because
but
bad publicity is still publicity.
Yes,
well,
And
but
it gets
but
everyone
also
but it's not
on-
outrage.
But also
outrage.
the people on the right get the clicks for, like, I think
But it's good. It's
I
good
think
all
you
around.
need
That's
to-
the problem.
I think you need to
Well,
fight
not
the social
good.
battles, But I think that when you immediately get outraged about every little thing before you know exactly what it is, you become the boy that cried wolf.
Yep.
You're just like the Democrats with this whole impeachment and this thing and that thing. I saw an article yesterday. I didn't even click on it, so the headline may be clickbait, but that one of the Democrats wants to look back into Kavanaugh now over a year later. It's like they're done with the impeachment thing, and now let's drag something else back up. And I think part of the reason their impeachment failed, if they had not done all the stuff during the campaign, if they had not done the Russian nonsense, if they had not done the Kavanaugh nonsense and all the other stuff with all the other former members of Trump's cabinet, had they not done all those things, I think you would have got more Republicans potentially on board with the impeachment.
Possibly.
Possibly. I don't know.
Possibly.
Because I still think their case was very weak. But you become the boy that cried wolf, and then you put a weak case forward, and everyone's just like, shut up and move on to the next thing. You know, and I think that conservatives are potentially in danger of that when they freak out about some of these things before directly seeing it and then addressing it head on.
Well, I think the same.
I'm supporting a drag queen commercial.
I think the same thing happened during the Super Bowl halftime show. Regardless of everything, a lot of people went way too far with their accusations, I guess.
Did they?
Yeah,
I think so.
My concern there is I feel like a lot of these, like, you know what happens. Everyone was pretty sure something like this was going to happen.
I swear I saw Facebook posts before it even happened.
And you know, like half of these columns were preloaded with like fill in the blank outrage things. That's my concern, is like they were waiting to blow up about it. Did some inappropriate stuff definitely happen? Like it's like you look up in one moment and it's essentially pole dancing, and the next moment there's like a children's choir, and you're like, what? What just happened?
See, my thing. Did J-Lo take it too far? Yes, she did.
Oh yeah,
yes she did.
Oh, there's no.
Are you surprised? No.
But yeah, is anyone surprised? No.
Apparently.
She definitely made Shakira and her hips look tame.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, wow.
Can I make that joke on the show?
Yeah,
can I make that joke?
Sure, you can.
Okay.
You can. After all, hips don't lie. That was one of Shakira's songs, isn't it?
Yes,
Anyways, yes. Boom.
I don't listen.
Culture vultured it. I don't listen to her music either, so I don't know.
You racist.
So, how about that Bill Murray commercial?
That was funny. That was funny. That was a funny one.
One of the best commercials.
Jeep one was good. Yeah.
The Jeep one was good.
I'll go with that.
There was another Top Gun commercial that gave you a little more insight into the potential plot line of the movie.
Of course, you would have seen that one.
Just release the dumb movie, guys.
Exactly. Let's just get to the movie. Come on, folks. Why do we got to wait till like July or whenever it is?
I don't need to belabor this. Just come on.
So, what did you think of the Walmart commercial with all the sci-fi stuff? Did you see that one, the delivery one?
Yes.
That was pretty funny.
One of my complaints during all the commercials was this cross selling in all the commercials. So Bud Light ended up in a dozen commercials. I don't even know if they bought any commercial time for themselves. They were in like 3-4 different commercials.
Yeah.
Which genius, I think. But
it was the same way with the Mr. Peanut commercial. It was like half of their brands were in the Mr. Peanut.
Okay, explain to me the Mr. Peanut commercial. What in the world?
I didn't.
What in the world?
I did not get the baby nut.
I'm
commercial.
Back.
Okay.
Did somebody kill the Mr. Peanut brand?
Yes.
But when? What is?
Yes.
I don't understand.
You missed it. It was before the Super Bowl. They released the first commercial, like days before.
I never watched TV.
And what it was is we found it on YouTube. Anyway, what it was is it was Mr. Peanut and Mr. Peanut and these two guys, and they were in the Peanut Mobile and they were driving along and they were on like this cliff edge, basically road, right? And somehow they had to swerve to miss something, and the mobile, the peanut mobile went over the cliff, and they're all dangling from, you know, the tree, you know, that's growing out the side of the cliff. The two guys and Mr. Peanut, you know, as the peanut mobile burns below them or whatever, you know, 100 feet or something like that, and then the branch starts just to break, and so the two guys look at each other and they go, like, you need to jump. Because, you know, obviously Mr. Peanut isn't going to be the one to jump because, you know, he's been around for 100 years or whatever. And so Mr. Peanut sacrifices himself and falls down into the abyss of...
and he becomes a roasted peanut.
Of the crash. And they go, oh, maybe he'll be fine. And all of a sudden, everything in the crash just explodes.
Oh, my goodness. That's terrible.
And then they're like, you know, and then it's like, you know, the funeral happens or whatever in the second commercial, and you have the Hawaiian Punch guy, right? Not the Hawaiian Punch, the cool.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
And he cries over top of the grave of Mr. Peanut, and obviously because it's a peanut, Mr. Peanut grows, and all of a sudden there's a baby peanut. Mr. Peanut's back. So
but I don't understand why any of that needed to happen they're just trying. Someone last minute was like, shoot, a couple years ago, people loved Baby Groot. Baby Yoda is a massive
a couple
hit right
weeks
now.
ago.
Baby.
I said a couple years ago. A couple years ago is what I said. Baby Groot was a big thing. Yes. And then Baby Yoda's just a huge hit. So we need to get into the baby thing. So Baby Peanut, let's find a way. Like, I literally think that's what happened.
Yeah.
All right. Take us out on that depressing note.
That's really depressing.
I'm really surprised that there was no response to that.
I didn't like it didn't make any sense. I didn't like the commercial. They should have killed him and then brought him back all in the same commercial.
The commercial didn't like you either.
It's true. I felt like such a boomer this Super Bowl. I was like, I don't get it.
That's because you are.
Did you see where Biden wants to take me to the back of the barn? Me. Some things in life you could really love doing. I don't wear a toupee. It's my hair.
I really am very smart.
I am a young, vibrant man. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. We will make America great again.
And had to wait for it to drop there. We are back. Obviously, this is our Trump segment. We're back with Jay Eldred. You may remember him from the show before. We spoke to him about Stories in the End, Short Letters from a Long Life. Am I getting that title right?
You are.
Okay, awesome. Nailed it. I was like, I was frantic. I was like,
that's
I gotta
unusual for Mathis to get anything correct on his first introduction.
It's true. It's true. And so, it's been a very interesting couple weeks with the impeachment trial of President Trump, and you've made some interesting observations on Facebook that I've been following, and I made some comments on Facebook. You commented on those, and I appreciate your views on it. And so I kind of just wanted to dive into those thoughts that you have, and kind of set the stage of where we both are, what kind of happened, and kind of where do things go from here? I mean, he's been I don't want to say exonerated, but he's technically been cleared by the Senate. And so yeah, give us your history with Trump. I mean,
okay. Yeah.
So were you never Trump? Were you what kind of set the stage for that?
I'm a historian by trade, so I always like to try to clear out my own biases. So I guess on my own politics, I registered Republican when I could first register to vote, because at the time I was in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania didn't allow independents to vote in primaries. So I registered Republican just so I could vote. Have always considered myself an independent. Now that I'm in North Carolina and North Carolina allows independents to vote in primaries, I've been registered independent for the last 2-3 election cycles, presidential election cycles. But I've always considered myself a Republican-leaning independent. At the same time, I have been never Trump since before he was a political candidate. I know we were talking before we hit record, but even when he did The Apprentice, there was nothing about him that made me want to help him in any way, shape, or form, even with ratings. But at the same time, when he's president, I always try to have the best outlook possible. You know, I don't want presidents to necessarily fail, because if they fail enough, that means the country's going to go down the tubes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I try to look at it from facts, try to examine it from both sides, which isn't the same as, whataboutism or whatever the term is. You're trying to look, okay, this is what both sides are doing. How does it fit into the overall scheme of things, the overall narrative? So that's kind of where I'm at.
So two charges got brought before I guess got brought by the House to the Senate, right? So that
right. Go ahead.
No, so the way it works is the House determines whether the House is basically a grand jury, right?
Correct.
Right, and that's what a lot of people are. I don't know if they're just confused about it, or if you heard that was my text. Someone's texting me. I don't know if people are confused about it. I know that there was some obfuscation about what exactly happens in the House, but the House is pretty much the grand jury. They're there to determine, is there enough evidence to have this go to trial? And it's kind of interesting if you get back into the history of impeachment, because when we look at the term in the Constitution that a president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, like the President's Counsel argued, it has to be some codified law that he's broken. But when they were written, those were very loose. High crimes and misdemeanors were defined by whatever the House wanted to define high crimes and misdemeanors. Same for impeachment. It was supposed to be very broad. In my opinion, we haven't used impeachment quite enough. Chances are, for whatever president you care to name, I think they should have been impeached, if not removed. I don't have a very high opinion of our presidents. Let's see. I kind of derailed my own train of thought there.
No, that's fascinating, because I was going to ask you that question as you were describing that. So
yeah.
I guess
what we heard the last few weeks was that impeachment is supposed to be nonpartisan. The writers of the Constitution did not have that ideal. They knew impeachment would be inherently partisan, which is why they split the process. They gave impeachment to the House and removal to the Senate, because they felt that the Senate would be more reserved and less likely to change with the whims of the people, which that was undercut by the 17th Amendment.
I was just going to ask you about that.
There's one where I agree with them.
If I were ever given the power to strike one amendment from the Constitution, it would be that one.
Yep.
Well, Jay and I have found something we completely agree on.
Because what we've done is we've created two separate houses of representatives and broken down the checks and balances of each part, and it's just a mess.
We've destroyed federalism, essentially, by doing that. Yes. So a question for you, Jay. This is Jeff.
Okay.
You mentioned that when these provisions were put in the Constitution, that they realized that it would be very partisan. Yet at the time,
that's an anachronism. That's an anachronism because technically there were no parties at the time.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Although things were still very heated amongst people. I mean, we see John Adams and Thomas Jefferson not reconciling till just before their death. So,
right, the closest that we would get to political parties in 1789, 1793 would have been the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists.
Yes,
and their main discussion was over, should we ratify the Constitution or not? Well, once the Constitution was ratified, that was a moot point.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't be until, you have political parties in Washington's time, but they don't really function as political parties until after Washington's presidency.
And of course, as everyone knows, we see Washington's warning against partisanship in his farewell address. So we know that there was stirrings of it at the time. Otherwise, he would not have warned against it. So
exactly.
We do know that it was there and working.
So tell us about. So you made an interesting observation that you thought there were 6 different things that Trump should have or could be impeached for.
Yeah, and those aren't unique to me. Those were 6 different ones that I saw repeated most often by historians and political scientists that I respect and whose work I've read. And while I might disagree with them, you would put me on the spot. I know that I'm on my phone today. Well,
okay, no worries.
I don't have internet at the house, and so I'm on the phone talking to y'all, and all of that is saved on, a note that I wrote.
Okay,
but I don't
worries.
want to try to disconnect and disconnect it. But I know that I can think of a couple of them.
If you don't mind, I do have your post here from your website.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Have pulled up. I could just list them from that.
That
post
would be fine.
You have them here. Okay, so this is from your website here. It's called runninginmyhead.com to give a
Correct.
shout out for that if people want to check that out. And in a post here discussing the impeachment, here's the 6 things that Jay has kind of listed that he feels or he's seen that could be impeachable acts. So one is obstruction of the investigation into Russian tampering in the 2016 election. The second one is financial and political ties to the Turkish government leading to the disavowal of our Kurdish allies. The third is Jared Kushner's using his foreign policy position to extort Qatar into bailing out his failing real estate investments.
And if I could pause you right there,
yes.
I had some discussion about that one, and I could have worded it better because I had several people ask me, well, that's Jared Kushner. What does that have to do with the president? And it might have been in my pronouns, but he was acting, as far as we know, under orders of the president. So that would be a violation of the emoluments clause.
Okay. Trump's attempt to coerce Ukraine into tarnishing a domestic political opponent and interfere in the 2020 election. Of course, this is the one at the center of the impeachment fight that we're talking about.
Right.
Trump's Trump's financial and political ties to the Saudi government, leading to Saudi tampering with the 2016 elections and the murder of a Saudi American journalist. And then finally, Trump as the unindicted co-conspirator in a confessed campaign finance felony involving hush money payments to an adult entertainer, which of course would be the Stormy Daniels issues and supposedly paying her to not talk about an affair that they allegedly had.
Well, technically, I mean, it's not. The payment isn't alleged because they had to go to court because she, the woman sued President Trump for defamation and that got thrown out. But that 6th one is not related to that. That had to do with, did the money come from his campaign, not did he actually pay her? Correct.
Yes, that's the campaign finance part of it. Correct.
Right.
Where did the money come from? Not did the payment happen? Yes.
Right.
Why did the House not pursue any of these other ones?
Honestly, I don't know. I think that, in my opinion, they went for what they thought would be easiest. That's just my gut. And if I want to play politics again, Ukraine would be defending one of their own because it did involve Joe Biden. The rest, not so much. If that makes sense. If I want to play the partisan side.
Wait, say that again? Sorry, I missed that.
If I wanted to play the partisan side, the whole Ukraine deal or alleged deal dealt with Joe Biden, so they could be seen as defending one of their own, where the rest not necessarily so.
I see what you're saying.
Interesting. Yeah. It adds a different complexity to it.
As you're talking about how many presidents probably could have been impeached and why didn't they go after all these other potential impeachment issues.
Well,
my thoughts kind of went back to the Declaration of Independence, where even Thomas Jefferson says, people are hesitant to change their government for light and transient reasons, and they will bear some pretty big evils for the sake of preserving the institutions they're used to versus having to tear it all down and rebuild it. And that's kind of where my thoughts have gone from, could every single president, could we have found some little thing to impeach every single president on? Probably. And not excusing anything that anyone's done, but that would leave the country in a shambles too.
Right. If we looked back, we could probably see that articles were at least introduced against the majority of the presidents. The question would be, did they have enough votes to bring it to fruition?
Do you think, as I watch this, it seems like and I don't want to get too conspiratorial here, but it seems like the Democrats.
Oh, let's go there.
It seems like the Democrats have really been gunning for him since they lost the election. And
okay.
I'm concerned with the optics, I guess, and how it looks like they're always trying to pick up on the next thing to get him.
It's just a partisan attack, yeah.
Right.
Okay. That's actually one of the questions that I was thinking about on my run this morning, and how I was going to answer that. And the question would be, so what? If we go back and look at November 4th, 2016, the Republicans released their plans for impeaching then candidate Clinton, assuming that she was going to win.
Right. You're right. You're right.
So pot meet kettle. The other issue is, so what if they've been gunning for them? Criminal activity is criminal activity.
So if I can take that argument and play the other side, because one of the big arguments against Trump having Joe Biden or having the Ukrainian investigation happen, which involves Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, is that it's interfering in an election and it's a political opponent. So at least it's my understanding, the president has every right to ask for corruption and aid money that we're giving to them that's just disappearing and no one can explain where billions of dollars have gone. The president has every right to ask for that corruption to be investigated. So to use the same argument, so what that it's a political opponent? Corruption is corruption.
Okay. So, and here's the thing. Even if Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were to walk into the Senate and say, yes, we did everything that the president has accused us of, it would still not mean that the president acted unconstitutionally. Even if they were involved in some criminal activity, if the president acted in an unconstitutional manner in investigating that corruption, it should still be held to account.
But as far as I know, the only argument I've heard made that it was unconstitutional is the fact that it was a political opponent.
Correct, and that is because every witness that agreed to testify under oath said that it was entirely political, that there was no mention made of corruption, that in every conversation and information that they were given, it always dealt with the politics, not with the corruption. And then the whole corruption thing is interesting anyway, because from what I understand, President Trump wanted to investigate why one of the Ukrainian investigators was removed, correct?
I believe that was one of the things. Why? Yes, I believe that was one of the things.
If I read it correctly, he was removed because he wasn't investigating corruption. It was not that Biden was trying to get pressure off of his son, but that he was not fulfilling the duty for which he was appointed. Which was the joint decision or the joint conclusion, not just of the United States, but of the European Union and of the United Nations as well. Everyone said this guy is not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
I'm not well versed enough, unfortunately, in all of that went down. I do understand there was a changeover in Ukrainian government at the time, and yes, there was accusations. There was accusations that corruption investigation was not happening, but that it was a very, I don't know, it sounds like it was a very corrupt process all around over there,
right.
to be honest. Now, I guess my question is
you could swing a tree and hit a dozen corrupt politicians.
Well, you could do that here, too.
I mean, that's everywhere, not just
You probably hit 528 around here.
Excellent number. So I guess the kind of flip side of that, though, is, so should someone be allowed to continue in corruption simply because they're a political opponent? So by running for office, essentially Joe Biden has exempted himself from being investigated.
Well, the question
because he's now a political opponent.
Should the president? In that case, I would say, is what safeguards are in place to protect political opponents of the president from undue investigation? Because
well, I think
personally, I don't want the president to have unilateral power to start an investigation on me simply because I oppose him.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. I completely agree with that.
Another failure of the Congress.
I think one of the safeguards.
Oh, we'll come back to that in this
Okay. Good.
I think one of the safeguards is simply the fact that now I've lost my train of thought because I was
sorry, man. Sorry.
Is that there has to be there's an investigation, but then it's in Biden's case, there's so much evidence of the corruption there that it's actually real. It's not just simply
okay.
It's not just simply I'm starting an investigation for there might be political ends that are gained from this investigation, but it's also in many ways a true investigation. If that I don't know if I'm wording that right. I'm kind of struggling with the way to
sense. And that ties into what the president's counsel was arguing, was that in this particular case, if you looked at the motives of the president, and if the president were believing to be acting in the nation's best interest, he had a duty to do it, even if it would help him politically, which could have been worded better, because the way that the president's counsel worded it went against every decision in jurisprudence that there's been. In every other case, if you can prove a mixed motive, a good motive and a bad motive, the bad motive is always the one that trumps, no pun intended, it trumps the good motive. In other words, if there's a mixed motive, you have to punish the bad motive.
Interesting. Now, my other concern with that is, and I know you've made some claims as to how this went down, but at least in the House, so that the House refused to allow the Republicans to call any witnesses, is my understanding. And so all the witnesses called by the Democrats, the ones that weren't behind closed doors, there was never any direct firsthand knowledge of actual evidence of that, asking for the investigation for political reasons and for the quid pro quo and all the other claims that were made.
Right.
So the statement's been made here that all this, you said something to the effect of every time this investigation was mentioned, Trump always mentioned it politically and not from a corruption and preserve
which
the
is
country
why
standards.
I was very careful to say those that testified under oath.
Correct. And I don't want to misquote you. Those that all testified say that, but those that testified had no firsthand knowledge of it ever. It was always, I heard from a guy.
Well, we could make the investigation that Vinland and Sondland did. You could make the argument that they had firsthand knowledge, but it was discounted as hearsay for whatever reason.
Because they weren't actually directly involved in the conversations, though.
One of them was. I forget which one. I'd have to look back. I know that I wrote up about it. But anyway, let's talk about those hearings for a little bit. First of all, I would point out that the way that these investigations were conducted were very similar, if not the same, as what happened under President Clinton. So turnabout is fair play, as they might say. Number two,
that's completely
number
fair.
two, the articles that set up impeachment leave it up to the House. So while we might not like what they're doing, they're the ones that still have the impeachment power.
Correct.
And they're the ones that get to decide what is and what isn't the way that things are done, which again, I think is why the framers were very wise in separating impeachment from removal. But be that as it may, in the news, they made it out, or a certain party made out, that these were being held in secret underground bunkers. Well, first of all, it was being, by using that phrase, secret underground bunker, it's designed to stoke fear. It was being held in a skiff, which, as everyone who's even seen NCIS knows, it's just a play, whatever. Then you had that stupid Republican, what's his name, who made a big show of storming into the skiff. Well, first of all, he had permission to be there because he was on the committee. If you look up who was allowed in the room, they weren't locking Republicans out. It was like the House Intelligence Committee or something like that. It was made of both parties. And he was allowed in the room, but his cell phone wasn't, so they had to shut down for 2 or 3 hours. Anyway, that's also beside the point.
We definitely understand there was a lot of political posturing by both sides on that.
But the other thing is, who did the House or who did the White House want to call? They wanted to call in the Bidens, which again, regardless of their criminality, doesn't excuse the behavior of the president.
I'd agree with that 100%.
And you had said before, Mathis, that intent matters, but it's so much harder to in judge intent versus the actual actions.
Right.
Number two, the first-hand witnesses who could have either immediately exonerated or implicated the president were forbidden by the president from appearing because he basically told his top staff and his top aides not to comply with any subpoenas whatsoever.
So that brings me to another question.
And this is what really gets my dander up, because honestly, I could care less about Ukraine, because I think that if the president had simply allowed his staff to testify and they came in and testified, we would not have had what we had over the last 3 or 4 months.
Do you think that I heard this? I think I heard this from someone on the right saying that the House did not have the power to subpoena without going to the Supreme Court. And that
you did hear that on the right. You heard that.
Is that accurate?
From the no. That is the president's counsel deciding what the House should have done that they would have complied with. But again, the Constitution is very vague. It gives the power of impeachment and the impeachment process up to the House.
So
impeachment is like no other trial in the land. But it plays into the president. It plays into the president's strengths, because even before he was president, litigation was his main business, if not his second business.
Very true.
He would make deals.
I'm still waiting for my Trump stakes.
He would make deals, and who cares what the deals were, because he would tie up the court system for who knows how many years because he had the money to do it. So in arguing that the court needs to litigate, they're being a good counsel because they're playing to their client's strengths. As far as the constitutionality that the House has to fight for subpoenas to the Supreme Court, no way.
Interesting. Now that it puts things into perspective. I've got man. You're giving me so many thoughts. It's like, wow. It's much more complicated than it is.
If I were a senator, and again, I'm not, but if I were a senator, I would have to have voted not guilty on Ukraine, simply because the House did not prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he did that. But as far as obstruction, absolutely, because he got out there and loudly declared that that's exactly what he was doing. So the real question that was before Congress wasn't, did the president meddle in Ukraine? If he did, was it a crime? That was actually, in my opinion, secondary. The real question is, what power does the president have, and does Congress have the power to check him? That was the real issue at stake.
Here's a question for you, Jay, if I can cut off Mathis for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is another thing I found disturbing with the process, and I don't disagree with many of the claims that you've made. I'm not in the pro-Trump corner by any means, but was that essentially, and maybe you have more insight into the process, essentially impeachment was initially called on the premise of the quid pro quo and meddling in Ukraine. And essentially, It appeared that the Democrats tested the waters. I mean, literally, there was a poll they ran about what language sounded more damning, quid pro quo, corruption, et cetera, et cetera. And they essentially polled their followers about what language should we use. And when they found that the quid pro quo wasn't going to work, they then changed tactics and went to these other terms. And then when they finally pushed out the articles of impeachment that they said were so dire and absolutely needed to come out, the quid pro quo, the initial thing that sparked all of this essentially was not even included in the articles of impeachment, and instead they chose 2 other things to throw against the wall to see if they could get them to stick. So essentially they created essentially out of creating I wouldn't say fake, but essentially out of the chaos that they created with the quid pro quo accusation, they caused the obstruction of Congress to then try to convict him of. So they keep trying to sling something against the wall until it sticks.
I would disagree with the second part, saying that they caused the obstruction. The president caused the obstruction. He did not comply with the subpoenas.
Where does executive privilege come into play?
They started an investigation to basically egg him into doing this, if you will, because you could almost say they knew this was going to be his when he's been attacked this many times for his entire presidency. If there is even an inkling of a chance that he has executive privilege and can say, look, I'm not going to give in to your nonsense, he's probably going to do it. And then that's your play. If we can get him to say that, then we can accuse him of X. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's if I was a Democrat strategist, that's where I'd go.
It's the same ploy that the radical Republicans used on Andrew Johnson, who was the first president to be impeached. They passed a law that they knew he was going to break simply to try to remove him from office. So this is nothing new.
But again, without succumbing to whataboutism, it's nothing new, but should it happen? Should it be allowed to happen?
That's a good question that I don't have an answer for. But again,
I've made this argument. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's why I think that the Ukraine situation is secondary, and that if by agreeing to the subpoenas, the president had sent witnesses or at least allowed one or two witnesses, we wouldn't have been here because he would be seen as complying with Congress, and they literally would have nothing to stand on.
I don't disagree with that, because there was a part of me all along that it's like, look, man, if you are truly innocent, just send the witnesses and declare your innocence. That's in a lot of different cases. Why would you stand by and let other people? But I think I also understand from some different, and unfortunately I've been a little busy during this process, and some of my analysis has been scattered from people who are much more plugged into the political process, and I also trust their analysis on a constitutional and a conservative level, I guess. I don't even know if I worded that correctly, but from a constitutional perspective, I trust their analysis. Essentially, the gist I was getting is part of the reason that the president hasn't complied with some of that is because even if he's innocent, and even if he sends these people before Congress, which I still kind of think he should have, the games, the procedural and legal games that will be played, not to mention the way the media will just spin the crap out of everything that's played there. In other words, even if he's innocent, things can be twisted to shift the public opinion against him. So why give them the red meat? One school of thought is just have them come out here and declare your innocence if you're innocent. The other school of thought is I understand the political machinations going on in the background. And even if you are innocent and put these guys out here, there's so many procedural and media spins that can be put on them that even though they're there and testifying to your innocence, the spin could actually hurt you. And
right, as the saying goes, and again, as the saying goes, and without trying to draw too many parallels, it wasn't necessarily the crime that did Nixon, and it was the cover-up. And as someone and as I heard recently, the main difference between President Nixon and President Trump is that President Trump was better at covering up what he was doing. Take that for what it's worth.
I want to ask and it could be a fundamental misunderstanding on my part. When we talk about the obstruction, how do I want to phrase this? Where does executive privilege come into play? Because we throw around this thought of executive privilege as the president doesn't have to talk, he doesn't have to provide information. Where does that come into play in all this? If the obstruction charge is legitimate,
that is something beyond my knowledge.
Okay,
but at the very least, the president's executive power is not or should not be unlimited.
Right.
Agreed.
Which unfortunately, and again, maybe it was the wording, but the way that the president's counsel was wording their argument, that is what they were arguing for. Was a president that could not be held to account by Congress unless Congress fought through the courts.
Interesting. Okay, so that ties it all together.
It is sad,
right? And that's where my own personal blood pressure rises, because we ought to be limiting the power of the president, not expanding it.
So that brings us way back to the original point there of the Congress has given the executive branch power that it should not have.
And what I was going to say is it's so sad that the Congress has done that in all the areas where it shouldn't, in as far as spending and the growth of the executive branch and decision making on all these things, and then all of a sudden, for one partisan reason, they want to rein in the executive power in one little area. And of course, if this was under Obama, it was the Republicans that wanted to rein in that executive power, and now that we're under Trump, it's the Democrats that want to rein in the executive power, and the Republicans that want to allow it.
What I was about to say was, for years or decades, we've heard both sides talk about limiting the power of the president when they're not sorry. This was the first time, pretty much since Andrew Johnson, because Andrew Johnson was impeached for violating the Tenure of Office Act. We could debate the legality of that. Nixon resigned. President Clinton was not removed from office. This was the first time that we've had a president that the issue was indeed the power of the president. And that is why I would have voted to find him guilty and remove him, not because of Ukraine, but because of the abuse of Congress. Because we need to check the president. And what happened is that you have the Republicans who, for all 8 years of President Obama, said he's going too far, he's going too far, he's going too far. When they have a person who's going beyond the powers that even President Obama had, they said, well, it's fine because he's our guy.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate side effect of the two-party system. And I was going to say, I struggle with understanding some of it because I haven't had as much time to actually sit and watch the legal arguments and stuff, because I see people, and again, people are not infallible, but I see people whose thoughts on this I would tend to trust, whether it be a Rand Paul or a Mike Lee or someone like that, who, as far as I understand, are pretty truly dedicated to limiting the power of the president and Congress and the Senate having their due place in the checks and balances. And I see people like that still voting to acquit. And then I see the biggest grifter of all grifters ever, Mitt Romney, joining with the Democrats to vote against Trump for whatever personal reasons he may have, and people claiming that it's this final, pure principled moment out of Mitt Romney, and there's enough there. That man is, if any Republicans believe he is a Republican, they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. But that's another.
President.
That's another.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, yes. You're not
without
going
a
to hear
doubt.
an argument.
Without a doubt.
You're not going to hear an argument from me there either. But it was interesting to me to see guys like Rand Paul and Mike Lee vote to acquit on both charges because of the principles that they've upheld in the past, and to see the only one break from the party to be one with a personal vendetta against the president. I guess it seems very interesting to me to see that as the result.
It's
I don't know if I have a question.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was interesting.
I've paid attention to a few of the senators. I was more concerned with how my own senators were reacting. Unfortunately, I've got two that, I don't know, being charitable, they don't know what they're doing. One of my senators was the one who passed out fidget spinners to the Republican Party.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, nice.
I'd heard something about that.
So they'd have something to do. And then the other one, literally like the same day that McConnell came out and said, this is not going to be fair, we're going to be working with the White House, however he worded it. That same day, he said he'd already made up his mind to acquit, and he sat for the whole time with an empty desk, no papers, no notes, no nothing, because for him there was nothing to learn.
Wow. And that's shirking the responsibility.
It's political gamesmanship.
In fairness, I am in North Carolina, so we don't have a very good track record of politicians.
Oh man, hey Jay.
And in fact, I'm starting to get mail from people who are claiming to be Trump conservatives, and I'm not quite sure how to respond to that because Trump is not a conservative.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyway,
thank you.
We've gotten far afield from impeachment, so
that's a whole different topic.
We live in complex times.
Yeah.
So
as a history guy, do you think it is more complex than it used to be? Like as you observe politics.
I don't think that it's more complex necessarily. It might be complex in a different way. For example, one of the things that, if anything, makes it more complex, it's the input of the average American voter.
Okay.
That's the question I was going to ask.
With the way that we are now connected with each other, with our politicians, every day we can find out what's going on, what people said, things like that. Whereas before, it might take days or weeks for information to filter out, and by that time, either things had already changed or the decision had already been made.
Right.
That's what I was going to say is because in the time that we're in, and not in the terms of the political parties, these terms I'm about to use, but we're in a much more democratic process versus a Republican process in that there's so much more direct average person voter
small
input.
D Democrat and the small R Republican.
Yes, exactly. Right. Versus a republic with the representatives once they're in there, they're making the decisions kind of free from daily input from the average voter. And then we're much more democratic where there's continual input from the very uninformed daily voter. And so it all becomes grandstanding to the uneducated masses, if you will.
Right.
Hence the fidget spinners, hence the empty desks.
Serious flaws.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Jay, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. Can you hold on just for a second after we do the outro here? Awesome, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we are back. That was a fun segment, guys.
Excellent segment.
It was really good.
I hate politics, which is ironic because we do talk about it a lot, like especially in our texts. And it does consume us a little bit because it does affect our daily lives. But I always get nervous talking about it because I'm concerned that we're not smart enough.
That is true. I definitely had concerns when you advertised that we were going to be interviewing Jay, and I have just been so busy lately that I have not been able to deep dive in some of this stuff. I was afraid it was going to be a train wreck, but I loved the discussion.
The cool thing is the discussion really brought it down to a level of it was not politics. It was the state of our nation. It was the culture of politics, if you will, rather than the actual politics.
The principles and the things behind it versus just the political posturing. Right. And we talked a little in the break as he got off the phone, and that was kind of my analysis was I enjoyed how much it was. We probably come down a little bit on we end up with differences onto how the conviction should have gone.
We know you're voting for Trump, so that's okay.
No, I've not said that. I am not Tombstone yet. I am not crawling over miles of broken glass to vote for him this time.
He said the crawling miles part, but not broken glass.
If there's broken glass, I'm out, but I'll crawl. But how we come down a little bit different on maybe the conviction part of it, but so many of my concerns on both sides, like we agree on the power of the presidency and Congress's abdication of their role in many ways, and just some of the issues that have led us even to this point. So it was a refreshing conversation, I thought.
It was a blast.
And it's what we, a year and a half ago, whenever we came up with 2 years ago, whenever we came up with the idea for the show, and coming up with a name and calling it the Front Porch Show, because we wanted to emulate that. Unlike on Twitter and to some extent Facebook and in what you see in the media, I feel like a lot of middle Americans in the flyover states, we can still sit down. We hope at least we can still sit down and have these discussions where we agree on a lot. We maybe come to a little bit different conclusions, but these are the kind of discussions we have to essentially save the country from the hyper partisanship that has caused so many of the issues today. And that's part of the reason we devised the show, was to just let's have real everyday conversations with people we may disagree with even.
So exactly. I mean, look at us. We disagree with each other all the time.
I can't stand you guys, but here I
am. Guys, it is that time of the show, and I'm surprised we were doing it this week. But
I thought it was a weekly segment.
In other words,
when I show
Jeff
up.
was like, "Aren't we going to do this?"
I know he was. He was.
It's a fan favorite, at least for me.
I'm a fan of it.
Listeners like it.
All right, so it is trivia time. I still don't have an intro for it. I was supposed to design that yesterday, and it didn't happen.
Slacker.
Wow.
Failure. I know.
Failure.
It's the problem when we're paid so well, we forget what we're doing.
It's not the problem I'm having.
So it is trivia time. We have contestants Karen and Ozzy, and what?
No, just Jeff.
Just Jeff. Oh, it's just Jeff, not Karen. And we
Don't make me speak to your manager
yet again, pulling from the Trivia Pursuit Genus 2 edition, which was created in 1984 by Horn Abbott Ltd.
Before any of us were alive.
Right.
Before any of us were born.
Except Mathis does remember when this came out.
He saw the commercials, and I think Reagan did them.
You people are horrible, and I love you. So we have our categories. We have geography, we have entertainment, we have history, we have arts and leisure. Or is it arts and literature? I don't remember.
Art and literature.
We then have sports and nature, and then we have science and nature, and then sports and leisure. Yeah, so it's arts and literature, science and nature, and sports and leisure. I was like,
geography,
I was thinking those do not make sense.
Nature, sports and nature,
sports
science and leisure.
I was like sports and nature for 500.
So Jeff, since you won last time, and since you won the Super Bowl challenge, you do not get to go first. It is Ozzy.
Home team goes last, right? It's like
That's right. So Ozzy, it is.
Yeah.
You. So just to refresh the rules, you get the option to pick 1, 2, or 3, and then. You pick the category, pick your nose. I mean your points, and then answer the question.
I would like sports and
we're doing no negatives, but stealing.
Yes, no negatives, but there is stealing.
How many rounds are you going to play? 3, 5?
So we will play 4 rounds. Fourth being the bonus round.
Okay.
Fourth being the bonus round.
All right.
So Ozzy.
Let's do the sports one. Why not?
Sports and
literature.
Leisure. Has golf ever been an Olympic sport?
And this is in 1984.
This is 1984.
I do not know, to be honest with you.
Did you pick your points?
Yeah, did you pick your points? You didn't pick your points.
No, did I? 3 points. Is there any reason why not? I would say yes.
That is correct. It has been an Olympic sport.
Has it? Okay, cool.
It has.
Is it? It's not currently, right?
I don't know.
I haven't missed that over the past 30 years, right?
I did look this up a couple years ago. There are a bunch of sports that kind of go on and off. Like I think badminton was a sport at one point in time in the Olympics, which seems kind of ridiculous.
Don't knock it. I probably suck at it.
Oh, there will be golf at the 2020 Summer Olympics.
Really?
That's what the Google says.
The Google.
It
knows all.
Thank you. Jeff, what would you like for your category, and how many points?
Science and leisure.
Let's go science and nature for 3 points because I got to match them, and I'm going to regret doing this. But
okay. I will take this answer to the closest 10. Okay. What was John Glenn's pulse rate at liftoff?
What? Who's supposed to know that?
The worst part is I don't even know what a standard pulse should be.
He doesn't even know who John Glenn is.
I know who John Glenn is. I got I got John Glenn. Why would you know that?
I'll take the closest 10.
Jeez. I'm assuming this is an arresting pulse rate.
Well, it's a resting pulse rate, but you're about to be
you're at
launched
4
into outer
Gs.
space on a rocket.
Right.
No, wait.
Right.
It's before liftoff, so there's no G's.
No,
He's
this
at
is
1
at
G.
liftoff. At liftoff.
Oh, at lift. So like
I don't know, man. I mean,
110 beats per minute. I don't know.
yes.
What?
Yes. 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 Yes.
Exactly.
No.
Yes.
Exactly 110
Yes.
beats per minute.
It was it says on here 110, and I was like, no way.
So, because what's a standard resting heart rate?
All right,
it's in
standard
like the 80s?
standard resting heart rate
60,
is around
right?
70 to 80.
70?
No.
Okay.
If you're sleeping, it's around in the 60s. Usually it's in the 70s to 80s, and then when you're doing workouts and stuff like that, it can get into
I see what mine is on the
160s
treadmill, and it's like up in the one. Yeah, it's too high.
It's too high. It's too high because we're all fat.
Yeah,
we know
exactly.
this.
Yes.
We know this.
So that's basically what I used to guess at. He's nervous. He's
Jeff,
nervous, but he's resting. So I just picked a number in the middle there.
My theory on the workout heart rate, though, is that you get to work out less, right? Because your heart rate's faster for
He's
longer.
pumping harder, so you don't have to run as long.
Exactly. Anyways, so well done, gentlemen. Well done.
I should get a bonus point for that.
That was good. Ozzy.
Right. Let's do entertainment.
Entertainment.
For 3 points.
For 3 points. Wow, we're throwing down the points today.
Now, just to clarify for me,
yes. I do not
Are there levels of questions on the card for the point value? So the point values are pointless then?
No, the point values are what you think.
Yes, they are.
But it should be a harder.
Unless you get it wrong.
Good point. They should be harder for the more points. That's the way the game should work.
But then I'd have to pick through them and figure those out, and that just seems silly.
Tell
I thought on the card there was levels. I want to speak to the manager.
Shut up, Karen.
Entertainment for 3 points.
Yeah, why not?
What 2 plants lend their names to the characters in The Little Rascals? What 2 plants lend their names to characters in The Little Rascals?
Alfalfa.
Yep, that's the one I could think of.
And oh my goodness, hold on.
Killing me, Smalls.
That's not the
one. Not
I know that's wrong.
Which by the way, I watched that with the boys the other day.
Jeez. That's the only one I know.
Really?
Like I'm not kidding. That's literally the only one I can think of is alfalfa at this point.
Really?
Like I can't think of any of the other names of the Little Rascals.
Yeah, I can't think. I couldn't list the other names.
Jeff, are you stealing?
Go for it. I don't know. I'm going to be kicking myself here.
Alfalfa and
you guys are going to kick yourselves because this is semi-easy.
What? Thanks, says the man with the card.
I know. It's easy for me to say.
Oh, dang it! You're right. I looked it up.
I don't know. I can't think. I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Buckwheat.
Buckwheat.
Buckwheat. I know, guys.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen.
It's bad.
All right.
Or Jeff, it is your turn.
Okay. I'm going to go.
I accidentally called you gentlemen.
That's true. Sorry, Karen.
I'm going to go back to sports and leisure.
Really? Man, I was hoping you'd pick like the history question.
Just because you've egged me on. Just because you've egged me on now.
Sports and leisure.
History.
Nope. For history. How many points?
History for 3 points.
How many points? 3 points.
Since the point value doesn't make it any harder, history for 3 points.
What year did nylon stockings first go on sale?
Wow.
I feel terrible.
That is not at all what I would have ever remotely guessed.
It's on the same card. No, it is on the card with John Glenn and Olympics and the Little Rascals.
That's how we should play, actually. Once the category, we should play from one card, and as the categories get used up, you're just whittled down to that. That might be a good idea.
Okay, we'll try that next time. Year nylon stockings. I'll take the decade. I will take the decade.
Yeah,
you take the decade.
I'll take the decade.
Not meaning
1820s.
Meaning the nylon, like material made of nylon versus
nylon
whatever
stockings.
else they might have been. Okay.
Nylon stockings. That's all it says. I can't interpret these questions, Jeff.
The 1920s.
That is incorrect. Ozzy, would you like to steal?
I'm going to go with the 30s.
That is incorrect as well.
Was it the 10s?
It's the 40s.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought they were already in. I would have thought they were already like
because I knew they tried to conserve them. Because didn't the ladies during the wartime they were trying to save the material for parachutes and all this other stuff and war supplies? And wouldn't they like paint a line up the back of their legs to make it look like the seam in the nylons, to make it look like they were wearing nylons even though they weren't? I remember that from somewhere.
Oh,
so I knew they were around by the 40s.
You were wrong.
So
you were wrong. They came out on October 24th in 1939.
But what year did they first go on sale?
They made their debut in the hometown, let's see.
1940, it says on here.
Oh, maybe. All right.
First sold October 20. Yeah, let's see.
I'm just saying.
Nylon sold
I'm
out.
Smithsonian here.
This is from Time Magazine, an entire article by this. The nylon sold out for months after their debut on this day, 75 years ago, October 24th. 1939. This is.
I know,
but that was their debut at the New York World's Fair.
Yeah.
So
that wasn't their first sell date.
Yeah.
Of course. So technically in the 40s.
Yeah, it was May 16th.
Because before they were silk.
Guys,
16th,
I just want to mention the irony here that we went from talking about the Trump impeachment to women's stockings.
That we don't know anything about.
No, exactly.
It's
Ozzy,
been
it
a
is
stormy episode.
It is your turn. What category would you like? We have.
I don't know what's
of
left.
course, on this card we have geography and we have arts and literature, but we could go to another card.
Didn't I do arts and literature? Let's do arts. Why not? For 3 points.
No, 3 points. I can't believe you picked this one, unfortunately.
3 points?
What nursery rhyme character does the fly mean when he says, "With my little eye, I saw him die"?
I don't know if I know this nursery rhyme.
Neither do I. Said the
now
fly.
I want to
No.
Google it just to...
Well, yeah, you can after you get it wrong.
My little eye, I saw him die. The old man.
That is incorrect.
I don't know. I don't think I know this one. I'm gonna look it up now.
Jeff, are you ready? What nursery rhyme character does the fly mean when he says, "With my little eye, I saw him die"?
And the fly is saying the statement.
I guess. What nursery rhyme character does the fly mean when he says, "With my little eye, I saw him die"?
I don't think I've ever heard of this.
No, neither do I.
You're not gonna get it. I don't think I've ever heard of this.
I don't know if I can say it on the air.
Let me look it up here.
I would have guessed the old man too, so I don't know. The young man.
No, it is not. It is. I'm going to have to bleep this. It is Cock Robin.
Yeah, it was Who Killed the Cock Robin.
Who killed the cock robin?
Yep.
That means a male robin, so I don't know that.
Yeah, you don't have to believe it.
You have.
So that's fine.
But you
okay.
did make it super awkward by telling us that.
Sorry, I was like, what in the world?
And I was talking about a bird.
Did you ever see Terminator? It was the 1980s.
What does that have to do with
it?
Lots of things happened in the 80s that were okay.
It's a nursery rhyme.
Lots of things happened in the 80s that weren't good.
Like your birth.
Well, moving on.
Okay.
That got weird.
All right, I'm Googling this.
So whose turn is it now?
It's Jeff's
turn. It's Jeff's turn. Jeff.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
We're still on round 2.
What's
is terrible.
left on that? No, we're on round 3. What?
Geography, if you'd like that, but we also have the next card.
Let's just do geography.
Okay.
And we'll use up this whole card. Then, yeah.
What Israeli city is nicknamed the Miami Beach East?
It's an Israeli city?
Israeli city is nicknamed Miami Beach East. Any answer?
Galilee.
That is incorrect. Ozzy, would you like to steal? Guys, you haven't gotten a question right in like 4 times.
I don't know.
No, we haven't since the first round. None of us have gotten anything.
Hebron?
Yeah.
Yeah, incorrect. It's Tel Aviv.
I should have just gone with Tel Aviv. What?
All I could think was Jerusalem, and I was like, I know that's not right.
Actually, I was blanking too. I'm like, there's Jerusalem, and what's the other one I should know? And it was Tel Aviv.
Yeah,
and
I was like, I know it's not.
Hey,
Jerusalem.
I knew Galilee was by a sea. So.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Dude, you remember? Didn't we take Bible history together? No, who was that? I took that with somebody.
I took it with you. It was Bible geography. It was
Bible
with
geography.
Not hand. It was
oh man,
the guy with the glasses. I'm pretty sure
a different
the
class.
slideshow.
I'm pretty sure the second time I took it was with you, Ozzy.
Oh,
you took it twice?
I don't want to talk about it. So it turns out
this failed Bible geography.
It turns out
I almost took it twice.
I had a D the first time through, and when you transferred and be a Bible major, you have to get a B or a C in it. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something about that. I almost protested that one. The worst part was having the blank paper and having to literally put on the dots and the names of every city in.
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember that.
It was very hard. Very hard.
Couldn't pass that today.
This is the bonus round already?
It's round 4. This is round 4. And it's tied 3-3.
3-3.
Should we allow Mathis to pick the category for the bonus round?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay, guys.
And who's going first this time? It's Ozzy. Ozzy always goes first.
Yeah. Ozzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy. So, Ozzy.
Mathis.
Entertainment. Because I think that would work for you.
I am not entertained right now.
What movie spawned the PG-13 rating?
You get a list? No, just
just come up with a movie. What movie spawned the PG-13 rating?
How many points do we get if we get these right? Just 3? We're just going to go with it, or?
I would go Indiana Jones
3,
and the Temple of Doom.
That is correct.
What?
What in the world? What in the world?
I knew that.
Wow.
I actually knew that one.
Wow. And Jeff, I had this picked out before for you.
I don't know why I remember that, but
because
I do.
I don't even. That is wow.
Because of your propensity for history, Jeff.
Oh no.
What Flyers' first words upon arriving in Paris for the first time were, "Well, we are here. I am very happy." Well, we are here. I am very happy. When he arrived in Paris.
That's got to be Charles Lindbergh.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Right? Okay.
Especially since you said he. But, I mean, I was like, I was afraid it was a trick question.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Right,
wow. So we're tied again.
So, super duper tiebreaker.
That's not fair. Jeff
wow.
got an easier question.
Wow, it's true. Okay, gentlemen.
The way you rattled that off, I don't know that it was easy.
I'm going to give Jeff. You're going to have a geography question.
What?
And Ozzy is going to get. Okay. Hold on. Ozzy's going to get
bonus points for knowing
arts and literature.
Movie.
Arts and literature.
Oh, you're going to give him.
And just hold on.
Doesn't help me.
And name your points, gentlemen. Name your points. How many points?
Again, it doesn't affect anything.
Yeah.
So
how many points? 3, 10, whatever.
1.
Okay, Jeff.
5.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Ozzy, go. Ozzy. Who's obscure? Who's obscure? Who's obscure according to the Thomas Hardy title?
What?
Who's obscure? Who is obscure according to the Thomas Hardy title? Thomas Hardy was an author.
I know the Hardy Boys.
Right. I have no idea.
Okay. Well,
I don't even know. Like the only Hardy I know is Tom Hardy, but he's the. It's not right.
But you just adopted the dog.
No points for you then.
Bane?
No.
Bane. Yeah, Bane is.
Is that right? I don't know.
No, it's not.
I have no idea.
All right, so I get
do
a
I get
chance
to know
steal
the answer
that.
now, or does
go ahead,
Jeff,
go ahead,
Jeff
try to steal it. Try to steal
Okay.
it.
The moon.
Nope. Geography. What letter
What's the
adorns?
answer?
Oh, it's Jude. Jude. Sorry, Jude.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. What letter adorns the flag of Rwanda? Don't look it up, Jeff.
No, I'm looking up Jude is obscure. I'm looking up Jude is obscure,
Under
and I don't
flag
even
of
know.
Rwanda.
I see. I saw him going for his computer.
Here, I can show you. I can show you what I.
I believe you. I believe you. Okay. What letter adorns the flag of Rwanda? Does Rwanda even exist anymore?
I don't know.
Like, I hate to ask this question.
A Z.
That is incorrect.
An R.
It is an R.
Is it?
It is an R.
That was too obvious.
Yeah.
That was too obvious.
It is an R. Aussie for the win.
Yes.
I should have just gone with the. I should have just gone with the.
The flag. The flag no longer exists.
It doesn't matter.
So,
it was 1984.
In 1984, I know.
The right answer.
Like several times.
I should have just gone.
So
with
the flag.
R.
The flag is a horizontal blue at the top, yellow, and then green at the bottom, with a sun up in the corner, in the blue. So almost like it's a.
I guess I should have gone with the obvious R. I just didn't think that would be it.
R, yeah.
So
Ozzy.
Ozzy, congratulations, Ozzy.
I should have gone with the obvious.
You guys were so close, but yet so far.
We are learning all kinds of new stuff from
so many
Who Killed the
facts.
Cock Robin to Jude the Obscure.
PG-13, Temple of Doom.
Really, Temple of Doom.
Yeah, that was the reason. Yes.
So what existed before then?
Nothing. It was PG.
Huh.
It was like it went from like G to
PG to R
or something.
Or something.
Really?
It's no PG-13. Yep.
They deliver in other ways, but they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled. And if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line. It's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material.
She's shocked that I picked her. Like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Guys, where do we start? Do we start with the debacle that happened Monday, or do we start with the debacle that happened Tuesday?
Yes.
Or the debacle that happened Wednesday.
I don't know. I mean, as far as politics goes, it was an absolutely amazing week.
It has been a doozy of a week, man.
And it's been a week.
You want to talk about conspiracies,
Woo!
man? Oh my goodness. Let's dive into it.
And it has been a week, I would say, of winning for the president. Personally.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I have to
Okay.
say, I
like
agree.
him,
I agree.
like him, hate him, feel about him how you feel about him. He has won this week.
He's
on
pretty
many
much
different-
So
dominated this
okay,
week.
so let's start out chronologically here. We have Iowa, which is still not declared.
It is.
Is it?
I think it was at 99%.
99%,
I believe.
which Sanders has.
And the concerns there.
Sanders
are that
has
it's not even accurate.
Sanders has won, but he did not win the delegates, right?
Right.
Right. He got like
Uh,
0.1% less than Buttigieg
Yeah,
last.
he's got.
But popular vote, he got the.
Did he?
Did he?
All right.
It changes all.
Thought he was even.
changes all the time.
I thought he was even below Buttigieg by like 0.1 in the.
Currently, we have delegates. Sanders has got 12.
Oh, that's delegate.
Buttigieg has 13. Percent of votes, Buttigieg has
you are correct. You are correct.
26.2, and Sanders has 26.1.
Yeah. Okay.
So Sanders won the popular vote by about 2,700 vote.
So it's funny because this is a lot like the Electoral College, isn't it? You know, the way it works in the U.S.
The Democrats want to get rid of the Electoral College, but they are using that exact type of process to
get rid of Sanders.
Now,
so let's just start out.
Might also lead credence to their argument that it's a corrupt process to black people. But
although
it's funny that they
want to use it, you're right. So Monday was an absolute fiasco in Iowa.
It was.
I live 30, 40, 50 miles from Iowa. It was an absolute mess because the DNC in Iowa decided that they were going to use an app to.
Oh, and we got the conspiracy theories.
I know. I didn't want to dive into that.
Apparently, not only was the app already existed, and at the last minute, the National DNC party pushed a supposed security update to the app as well.
Oh,
and then all this stuff broke down.
Apparently,
Buttigieg
July,
funding it.
Was it July? July, his campaign gave two $30,000 checks to the people who wrote the app because that's super awesome.
And one of
this is amazing that I'm not talking about the conspiracy here. It's you,
and one of Hillary's former campaign people was heavily involved.
Claims he wasn't.
Creation.
Claims he wasn't. He claims he wasn't on Twitter.
Sure. Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
Twitter clears all. That's how you clear your name. Twitter.
And Epstein killed himself too.
It's funny because everything came out and they were like, It's funny because as everything kind of transpired that day, and it just became an epic failure, and as it spilled over into Tuesday,
dude, it was bad.
It was like it looked very bad, like they were trying to stifle Sanders.
Now I've also heard.
Guys, did you see the video? So literally in one precinct, or whatever they call them, one caucus site, it ended up going down to a coin flip to decide whether Buttigieg or Sanders got the more delegates. And have you seen the video of the flip?
No, I didn't know this was a thing.
The Democratic operative doing the coin flip, he looks... People are going to be mad at me if I say this. He looks like he's from another planet. He has clearly never... People are trying to explain to him, you flip the coin with your thumb... No, before I say this, how do you guys do a coin flip?
You flip it, catch it, and then flip it over on top of your wrist.
Yeah, Mathis, same thing. So you flip it, catch it in your open hand, and then take that open hand and flop it over on top of the back of the other hand, and whatever's there. He flips this coin. Mathis, see if you can find the video, and we can at least play the audio from it.
I can't play the audio without it's too hard. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we'll have to put it up on the website. He flips this coin. He catches it awkwardly, and there's 5 people that are really invested in this, all standing around him, staring at him hungrily because they want their candidate to win. And they're like, now flip it. And he's like, what do you mean flip it? And he's got it in one hand, and he puts it in the other hand and flips it over, and then someone heads, and they're like, okay, Buttigieg gets it. And it's it all just broke. I would have been screaming, you reflip that coin, because I don't know what that was, but it was not a coin flip. And then
we all know what it was.
And
we
then
all
I
know what
called
it
the
was,
Men in
Jeff.
Black, because that guy did not seem like he was from planet Earth. No offense, but he had never seen a coin flip.
I will defend
He'd
him.
Never seen
it was
a coin
the stress
flip in his life.
The stress of the situation. Realizing that you are choosing. I know.
Dude,
oh, come on!
You could do a coin flip in kindergarten.
Probably. So, anyways, caucus fiasco.
Brutal.
We move on. We move on to Tuesday. Caucus fiasco is still going on.
Yes.
When Donald Trump takes center stage.
Ooh.
In the House chambers.
Dude,
State of the Union. State of the Union address.
That was
who watched it?
I have to say that is the best State of the Union that I've seen Trump do. And
I did not watch it because basically the State of the Unions are all just a bunch of nonsense at this point.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, man.
The true state of our union is heavily divided, at least from
what struck you, Ozzy?
Aspect.
What struck you? What struck you?
The whole time you had Pelosi, I thought she was going to hit him in the back of the head. I am not going to lie. She was seething. If looks could kill, my goodness gracious.
Did you watch it from the very beginning?
I did, yeah. I watched.
So I've seen clips and I've listened to segments of it and like that. I've listened to analysis of it because it saved me from having to sit through it all. Did you see the initial handshake snub?
Yeah.
Do you think it was an intentional snub? Or do you think that, like, just in the awkwardness of here's the paper, I'm handing a paper to Pence, I'm turning around, she reached her hand out late, he just didn't.
I think
awkward interaction.
Here's all right. Going back and viewing it, I viewed it probably a dozen times. I don't know because everybody at work thinks it's everybody
a snub and an insult. Yeah.
And I think that
don't worry, Republicans who are freaking out about other things. I'm going to get to you next.
I think that he saw her hand, but was not planning at all to shake it because he did not shake Pence's hand either. So
he was already turning away as it happened.
I don't know that it was. I don't know that he didn't see the hand. I think he wasn't planning on shaking either hand, which is why he didn't shake Pence's hand.
So the other conspiracy theory that's out there is that she saw the articles earlier in the day suggesting that she would not shake his hand, and so she at the last second she put her hand out to make it look like. Anyways, to make it look like just the opposite happened.
I could see that. Here's the question:
are you sure that's not bias against Pelosi?
based on other things that happened that we haven't addressed yet, I don't think it's bias against Pelosi.
Okay.
I think that both sides are definitely using it as a political posturing.
Oh yeah.
Now, the question I have for the two of you is, do you blame Trump and do you think it's an ultimate petty thing he should get over? Or do you not blame him for, it's not the most mature thing in the world, but he walked in, he handed them the speeches, he did not shake either of their hands. Then he turned around and he got on with the address and he did not actually, from all my understanding, again, I did not view it, but I've read a lot of analysis of it, watched a lot of analysis of it, and saw clips. He did not go out there and use it as a massive troll like he normally does at all his other events. As far as his trolling of the Democrats, his direct, overt trolling of the Democrats, he did not do that in this speech, is my understanding.
Having seen the walk-in, and I may have put it to different music. Anyways, having seen that a couple times, it's almost like he was trying to make it not about the politics, but about the American people.
Okay, and that's the analysis that I have gotten from people who I trusted to watch it and analyze it much more than me, and so I didn't waste my time. Essentially, it was.
Yeah.
The analysis I received was that it was actually set the bar for future State of the Unions in the fact that he stayed away from the trolling. If the handshake thing was a troll, he got it out in that one little petty move, and then he focused on the country, on positives.
Yeah,
he made a play for some of the Democratic base as far as his ploys toward some more minorities that don't normally vote for Republicans while still solidifying his base. If I could break it down in 3 words, the analysis I've read or 5 words: socially conservative, patriotic, but big government, because we all know that he is not a small government conservative by any stretch of the imagination, despite what Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh say. Sorry, Rush, to diss you.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Hold on. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. I keep seeing a bunch of people freaking out over this. Oh my goodness. Trump gave the most inflammatory character the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I mean,
okay,
yeah, he did.
I don't know if it's the right. I don't know if it's the right stage or the right award to give him. However, even what we're doing right here on this podcast by a small amount, and literally everything from talk radio to The Blaze to Mark Levin to Steven Crowder to Sean Hannity to some extent,
to MSNBC,
literally anything on the right side of the aisle, and just anything in general in talk radio especially, owe themselves to what Rush Limbaugh did.
Yes, we do.
Whatever you think of him, he is the granddaddy of talk radio, which has led into these other forms of internet media and whatnot.
So,
from things I've seen, he single-handedly revived AM radio that was a dying thing. And he has made a profound impact on the industry, no matter what you think.
So what a lot of people don't understand is that when Rush came around, it was just after the death of what's called the Fairness Doctrine, which was anything but fair. The Fairness Doctrine
supposedly forced you. Yeah, go ahead.
The Fairness Doctrine basically decided that no one could have opinion radio. They could not declare their opinions on the air. You had to present both sides of the argument equally with equal time. And so
which seems like a logical and fair thing.
The problem is that a lot of these organizations were left-leaning to begin with, and so you only had the left-leaning viewpoint.
Right.
And I understand that in and of itself that I just said is debatable, but
they were somehow covering themselves under the Fairness Doctrine while essentially only promoting more left-leaning views.
Yes.
And then if you tried to come out and promote a right-leaning view, you got...
So it really comes back down to that Overton window that we were talking about. So in past shows, and I know Glenn Beck's talked about it a lot, where you have this window of acceptability. Well, the window of acceptability in the media sphere was very far left, and you did not have the right... You definitely did not have the Alex Joneses, who, as bat poop crazy as he is, he should be given a voice. Okay, and so you have Rush Limbaugh, who came out of that whole Fairness Doctrine and said, "Hey, we can have a voice now. Here's my voice." So. I don't know if you guys know the history of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I
really don't, to be honest.
That's given out by the president. It only started in 1963 with JFK.
Okay.
And it is presented to people all across different venues, whether it be law, humanitarian, history, education, computing, business, economics, arts, politics and government, all that stuff. So, like back in the beginning, you had like Helen Keller was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. was given it by Jimmy Carter after his death.
FBI got done
after his
investigating
death.
him and smearing him, and
right after we tried. Other notables, Jesse Jackson was given. So
okay.
Gloria Steinem was given it.
You can't complain about Rush Limbaugh of Jesse Jackson.
That's my point. Everyone's sitting there screaming about, oh my goodness, he's making this incredibly political. No, it's every president has made it political. That's what this award is. This award is saying, I like you. You're on my side. Here's this.
Yeah.
And so, whatever.
This is why I kind of disagree with the fact that there were no real jabs at the Democrat Party.
I said no overt.
Yeah, no overt jabs. Yeah, right. But like throughout the entire thing, the Rush Limbaugh thing I think was just the peak of it, because like everybody, you could just see like everybody was seething on the Democrat side of this.
But by the same token, they were seething when he introduced a single minority mother and her child and talked about schools of choice and gave her a scholarship, and they wouldn't applaud for that. They were seething when he brought in the military guys. So those are the non-overt jabs that he skillfully employed to kind of create this stark contrast between where the average American is and where the Democrats in Congress are.
Did they actually not clap though? Because honestly,
many of them probably did. In some of the clips I've seen, many of them did for some of these things.
Right. So and Pelosi was not completely crazy. I mean, she is, but
and you don't have to stand up for every applause
for certain things. You
don't have to stand up for every applause line. That drives. That's one of the reasons I don't watch the State of the Union is because
137 applauses, by the way.
Right.
Yes, and they stand up for every single one. So I'd be fine if everybody just sat down and didn't applaud so much.
It was not really like a State of the Union, though. That was what I got from it. It was more like I've heard Trump rally. And honestly, it really was. Like, it was, everybody was cheering, and then you had the people who were against him who were not, following the decorum and whatever else of what was
happening. He chose his ways to do that skillfully, or whoever planned it for him chose it skillfully, that the things that he was, whether we hate it or not, the way that the applause lines and everyone stands up for every stinking thing, he chose things that were very middle America. Some of them are big government. Again, I said big government was one of the things, because he gave a socially conservative agenda in this that was propped up by a bunch of big government things. So he's not a small government conservative. He, however, has at least latched himself to the socially conservative agenda. And so what he ended up doing was appealing to a ton of middle America, where you have a lot of those people that are kind of socially conservative, but they kind of want their government program to help them out too. And he drew this stark contrast where the Democrats, who are supposedly all for that, would not applaud it, whether it's a bunch of bunk applause where everyone stands up or not. They wouldn't do it. And I think he won bigly.
And I've heard basically if he could keep on, like, you know what I mean, stay off of social media and all of the
someone needs to spike his Twitter account.
Ridiculously stupid things that he says. And if he goes through and this is like his campaigning speech for the next year, he's going to win by a landslide. Because it really was. It was a very good speech. It made you feel good about America. It made you feel, okay, here's what they're doing. Oh, you know what? He brought back these people. He brought back
this
the
scholarship,
or whatever.
This thing,
scholarship. He's got everybody. He's openly spoke out about abortion, which means that all of those people are going to jump on the bandwagon now because it's like, oh well, here he is. He's doing everything right. So if he could continue
again. Think what you will of him, and I think we've all, said by your fruits you'll know him. I don't believe the claims that he is a Christian. But he is by far the most pro-life president we've ever had.
I have really questions about that because
in any recent era, he is by far the most pro-life president we've had. It may simply be he's picked his
maybe.
It may.
I don't know that.
It may not be his personal conviction.
Right.
It may not be his personal conviction.
Yeah. But you guys know me and my theories on that.
He knows it's his base, and at least he is not. Congress hasn't fully come through on something. He's done more for the pro-life movement than supposed pro-life Republicans have done since Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Think of all the times that Republicans have always said, you vote for us, we'll end abortion, we're pro-life, we'll overturn Roe v. Wade. I'm telling you, even the major pro-life lobbying groups in Washington, literally the nickname for them by true conservatives is Big Baby. They don't want Roe v. Wade to be overturned because then they cannot raise money off of it.
I've made this argument on the show before, guys, that the whole pro-life thing with Republicans is money. It is the money.
Exactly.
With Republicans, absolutely.
Same with guns.
And that's why guys won't go to the Right to Life march or whatever. Trump straight up went to it. Okay. I don't know if he fully personally believes it, but he's fully invested in it, at least for his political gain.
Right.
It's like his kind of anti-war, bring the troops home kind of thing. I think, despite the fact that appeals to a decent chunk of his base, although that's kind of a contested viewpoint in the Republican Party, he believes in a strength, but not in a never-ending war, and I think that is his real position.
And I think that it's he's appealing, like you were saying, he's appealing to his base, but I think he's trying to grab those people who didn't vote for him but weren't voting for Hillary. And by doing that, you're looking at, okay, who are those people? Those are going to be the even more conservative side of the spectrum. Right.
And
so
let me tell you,
what do those people believe in? That it's abortion. It's let's limit government, quote unquote. Let's bring the troops home. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like,
here's the deal.
The stuff he spoke on is directly to those people because we already know his base is going to vote for him again.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you get more people? You have to get all of those people that voted independently, who voted for third party, who voted for, you know what I mean?
Who unfortunately, while claiming to be principled, were completely had the wool pulled over their eyes by the grifter named Evan McMullen, who was probably worse than Trump in the long run.
Grifter.
You've used that multiple times today. It's very good.
Sorry. It was used in some analysis I was listening to, and the word is just stuck in my head. I didn't know if I could use the term shyster or if we would get in trouble for that because that has
it's German,
potential racial. Well,
is it racial?
Not shyster.
Wow.
I believe has
that.
So
I believe that has some implication. Okay, you don't have to believe that. I don't think. It just was clarifying that I was not trying to swear in German.
But you just did.
Anyway,
you're welcome. This is the first.
Did I offend your
This is the first time since Alyssa that we've gotten the call.
I know, right?
So,
what did Alyssa say that we had to call?
Oh, we can't talk about that.
Okay, all right. So anyway,
I don't want to get bleeped again.
Now you're going to bleep me, and everyone's going to think it was much worse than that. So
it is. It was horrible. Jeff's going off his rocker.
I didn't know if I could use the word shyster if we'd get in trouble for that. That has some racial implications against Jews.
Bouncing.
But the point being,
bugs.
Evan McMullen was just as big of a problem as Trump. But you're right. That's the play that's being made for. And if I'm honest, again, I've told you guys, I feel like I swing back and forth. And one day it's like the tombstone, crawl over a mile of broken glass to vote for him. And the next day it's like, you get this guy out of here as fast as you can get him out of here.
All right.
I'm quickly reaching the point where I could swallow the big government part of this for now to get the socially conservative, more patriotic part in there because of what the alternative is. Last time I went very principled. I was sick of the lesser of two evils nonsense. I had to make my point in a protest vote.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that this time around.
I don't know. I'm having the same debate right now because it's like,
especially since there's no primary for the Republican Party to kind of be protested. Like we're here. Right. There is no better option in the Republican Party this time around. And we all know a third party is not going to win this time around.
Right.
Again, if everyone that said that voted for a third party, there might be a legitimate chance for a third party. Right. That's why I went third party last time.
All right. So let's talk about ripping up papers now.
Oh,
yes.
On this.
Okay, yes. Oh, because I said I was going to get to the conservatives. Okay. So everyone saw the famous Pelosi tear up of the speech after.
Yes. And the memes are amazing, by the way. Look,
the memes are amazing.
We've posted our share of them on the show page.
The memes are great. We live in a great era for meme bait. Meme.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Close enough.
Anyway, and of course, now you have the people on the right pointing out that she pre-ripped each page
that
to
was
make
hilarious.
her stunts go down.
I like it.
I'm telling you, political grandstanding. It's all political grandstanding. I believe she did pre-rip them to pull it off successfully.
I think she did too. Yeah.
She probably couldn't tear a stack of paper at her age without pre-ripping them, okay?
Can you imagine messing that up? See, this is the thing. If she wouldn't have
that would actually be hilarious.
That probably honestly saved her from going to jail, because if she couldn't have pre-ripped it, think about it. If you can't rip it, what's the next best thing you're going to do? You're going to crumple it up and then throw it at the person.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And then it would be assault on the president, not just a felony, Jeff.
But wait a second,
Jeff. It would have been assault, not felony.
Maybe that's
people
what Trump
on
was
the
trying
right
to do.
Are now claiming that she should still be going to jail because she violated title whatever blah 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 of the U.S. Code of destroying
That's ridiculous.
Documents.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, people on the right, get over it. Do you think that if you're that concerned, I want to know what Mike Pence did with his documents after that speech. If he walked out of that chamber and threw them in a trash can, you have to prosecute Mike Pence as well.
This is talking about the actual custodians of the paperwork.
We're talking about official documents has to be preserved. There was 47 copies of that speech handed.
So
to
if you have the guy in charge of the National Archives ripping it up and not putting it in the National Archives, then we've got an issue.
Exactly. Yeah. So just get over your obsession to need to convict her of something. You are becoming just like the Democrats have cried wolf over so much stuff with Trump that even if they come up with a legitimate thing, no one wants to listen to him anymore. You are the same way with Pelosi and the Democrats. They're dumb enough. They're exposing themselves as being dumb enough. Look at the caucuses, look at the debates, look at the town halls, look at all of this. Do not make this mountain out of this stupid molehill. You're making yourself look incompetent. I will call out both sides of the aisle, folks.
Yep.
You look like an idiot on the right and you look like an idiot on the left.
Yeah.
Use some common sense.
So moving on.
I have to say, Trump, like, he controlled that entire speech of pissing everybody off, because that was exactly what he needed to do. And you have to admit, like, Pelosi, like, you don't really get under her skin a lot. Like, she doesn't lash. No. But I'm saying, though, she doesn't really lash out.
I'm
like
not sure
that.
about
like,
that, but
oh, come on. But I'm just so, I mean, for him to be able to, on national television, and how high a priority of or public forum that was, for her to lash out like that, like he had to, like, he was deep under her skin.
It was a great play.
Great. It was,
and then
great.
from of course exoneration in the impeachment vote,
right? And then that,
like it or love it,
goodness gracious,
to the national prayer breakfast and making the statement, "I don't like people who say they'll pray for you but attack you," or something like that, which was another direct statement at Nancy Pelosi from her claims that she's Catholic and prays for the president.
Oh my goodness!
I forget the exact.
Did you read his whole
jabs,
comment? It was a
jabs,
tweet.
Man.
I don't know if I had the whole comment, but
yeah, I mean,
this is the art. This is the art of the deal right here.
Yeah,
and his deal. He's making a play for Middle America. You're right. He's making a play for those people that either voted third party last time or didn't vote or voted for Hillary because they believed the blurb about him being too coarse.
Depending on who winds up being the candidate for the Democrats, he might even get some of them.
So it was
because they can't figure out what the heck's going on.
It was Donald Trump Jr. the next day said the likelihood of Nancy Pelosi praying for Trump is about the same likelihood of Satan running around quoting the scriptures.
I mean, that does happen.
And I'm like, wait a second.
So it's 100% likely.
Well, it's like, no.
Didn't Satan look straight at Jesus and say, "Does not Scripture say?"
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I'm just saying.
Sorry, Donald Trump Jr., you screwed that one up.
It's like, that's ridiculous.
There goes your super conservative base right there. It's gone.
That's so it's 100% sure that Nancy Pelosi is praying for the president because we know in Scripture.
I know.
That Satan quotes Scripture.
It's like so. I saw that buddy of mine texted that to me, and I'm like, all I'm thinking is the Dumb and Dumber. So there's a chance. So there's a chance. So they're saying there's a chance.
All right, guys. We haven't done this segment maybe in a while. DA of the day.
Donald Trump Jr.
Donald Trump Jr. for that quote right there.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. He gets it.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So a week of winning. I think if you're pro-Trump, if you're the president, from his perspective, whether maybe not for limited government, but for Trump, a week of winning. Huge.
Lord, I want to thank you for my my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa.
That was a non-gendered person, Ken, and you just gave it a gender.
I tried this one chili and it set my mouth on fire, and I had to drink a 2-liter of Mountain Dew.
All right, leave this guy alone with his poor, constipated poops. We're going to come back and talk about politics. That's what really matters here.
Thank you, Tombstone, for bringing us back in. No, we're not talking about politics this episode.
Been there, done that.
We wore it out, so we're going to be moving on to something different. Guys, I've got an article here, and this was sent to me by a friend of mine, Greg. He thought it would make for a pretty good article on the show. This is out of Detroit. So your stomping grounds, Jeff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
controversy in Detroit.
A man by the name of Santor Thomas, who he's from Detroit. He just had settled a lawsuit from his former employer, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, when he went to a TCF bank branch where he was the customer. He then told the staff at the location he wanted to open a savings account and deposit his money, then withdraw some cash. And they told him that they needed to check that the check verification system wasn't working and that she'd have to call in the checks. She then went to the back of the bank, returned, and said that the staff member who verifies the checks was not at their desk and wasn't sure when they'd be back. He claimed that she treated him suspiciously, even asking him how he got the money in the first place. Thomas claimed replied that it was from a lawsuit and that he would wait in the lobby until the absent staff returned later to verify the checks. I said, however long it takes, I'll wait. And she said, okay, and then walked away. And 10 minutes later, the police showed up. The police officer showed up and questioned him on the legitimacy of the checks. And he said, this is crazy. I literally got them from my lawyer's office. Of course, he claims that his mind went quickly to the large number of black people killed during encounters with police and decided he better stay calm during a very stressful and unpredictable situation. The lawyer said that it's from a discrimination lawsuit and that the checks are real. And anyways, he's alleging that racism, that he was racist, that he was discriminated against when he went to cash his check at the TCB Bank.
TCF
Bank. I'm sorry, TCF Bank. He attempted to deposit 3 checks, one for $59,000, one for $27,000, one for $13,000. So we're talking a decent amount of money here, which, by the way, this is no longer a private settlement. Just wanted to throw that out there. This is no longer a private settlement when we now know how much the settlement against Enterprise Rent-A-Car is.
Well, and he actually, I believe it says in the article, him and his lawyer said they couldn't comment, right? Let's see. I don't know who Warrenberger.
Yeah, said they could not comment.
Spokesperson for the bank said that these were the amounts of the checks.
Yeah. So they couldn't comment.
The lawyer
because of
and the guy said that they could not comment on the amount.
There's a lot of things wrong with this story, guys.
Yeah.
And of course, the bank claims they weren't racist because they have a black person as the assistant manager of the bank, which is typically not a great excuse for anything. You can't just say, "Hey, this is my token."
Do we know which branch location it was?
This was
sounds fishy.
This was the Livonia, Michigan.
There's 2 branches in Livonia, Michigan. Yeah. Do we know if it's the one on Plymouth Road or Middle Belt Road?
It's the one that's potentially
I don't know.
racist.
It's the one that's racist, Jeff.
Well, I'm
Jeff,
just
which bank is yours?
Neither.
Okay. The whole thing is very interesting. So police claim that these checks appear different than enterprise payroll checks to their computers telling them that they were fraud.
I can understand that. I mean, I can see it sounds really fishy, but again, I'm trying to be completely non-biased here. Is okay, what would you do if somebody walked into your bank with let's see, how much money are we talking about? $90,000 worth of checks?
Says I want to open an account and I want to withdraw a bunch of this.
Yeah. I mean, just saying, like that alone probably would be, very questionable. But again, the guy is like, okay, that's fine. I will wait.
So I have had several insurance settlement checks come my way.
Sounds suspicious to me.
And I know, right? And so I have put sizable amounts in the bank.
All right. So what we need you to do is to go to Michigan and try and deposit them at this bank.
And see what happens.
See what happens.
Well, I guarantee now they're going to take them. What strikes me as what I think happened, and this is just total side thought here, not corroborated by anything. It seems suspicious that there were 3 separate checks that were brought in
for large sums. If the checks looked odd from the way that they were, because sometimes you have the checks that like you write from your normal checkbook, if anyone even does it anymore. You get the ones that you get like in the mail as like the
transfer
refund
checks or whatever.
Yeah, but then you have you like as a refund from the power company or something if you moved and they overpaid. And those are kind of like the pre-printed checks that tear off, that are kind of standard business checks. But then you get like the odd sized ones. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you get some weird checks from things. I don't know if you've seen them before, but like when companies like payroll departments, they're like, they're these auto-generated pre-made checks that they print out, and sometimes they're a weird size or a weird, printing. So I don't know if they were an odd-looking check. I don't blame the bank for wanting to look into them.
Right.
I think it's odd that it went from like a bank has to have some sort of means of verifying a check.
Yes.
So to go straight from your check looks odd, we're going to call the
cops. That's weird.
That seems like that's crazy really escalation. That just seems weird. Now, it's unfortunate that we live in a society where the instantaneous accusation is always going to be race if it's someone that's a minority that's involved. I don't know. I struggle that's the. Can I even say it's on there? I don't know. I'm concerned. I think I know why the man immediately went to those accusations.
Well, so if he's already been a victim of this, I understand that he's naturally jaded.
Has he been a victim of it, though? Well, I guess yes, because that's what he's settling.
I mean, that's the settlement
for.
But as you postulated earlier in the show, did you do that on the air or not? I'm going to say it anyways.
I don't think so. What?
If you're going to settle something, is it always for something you're guilty of?
Oh, that wasn't on this show, but we've talked about that before. I think settlements,
because you mentioned it in reference to Trump and the paying off Stormy Daniels.
The Stormy Daniels thing. I don't think I said it in that way. We were just talking about the crime was more campaign finance versus whether he committed the act or not.
Right,
I think is what we were talking about. But you're right. I don't know why people would settle if they were innocent, but sometimes they do just to make it go away.
Right. I mean, obviously, we won't know any of the details of the Enterprise rent-a-car situation.
Yeah,
because it was a private settlement.
Here's
settlement.
where, and depending on where you are on the political spectrum, pretty much determines what you think of this issue. But here's where I think that, to some extent, propaganda plays into these perceptions, because his mind, and he says his mind immediately went to the large number of black people killed during encounters with police.
Yeah.
And I don't dispute that those things happen. And some of those things were legitimate and blown out of proportion by the media, and others were very illegitimate, and police need to be held accountable for their. I mean, we are pro law and order here, I would say, from a principled perspective. And we believe that when the police doing their job correctly,
I just
you should support them. And when the police are not doing their job correctly, they should be held accountable, and they should really be held to a higher standard than the average person.
Jeff,
would you not say that's where we're
it's
at?
Tax season. I'm very anti-government right now.
Yes,
continue.
But correct. But you would still agree that we should respect authorities when they're doing their job correctly, but we should hold them to a standard and possibly even a higher standard than the average person because of the power that they're entrusted with. And so we can agree that there are some terrible situations that have happened over the last few years. Some of them have been exploited by certain political movements and the media. Others are legitimate situations. Yes. Others are legitimate situations that should be addressed. Why are we tackling people for selling unpackaged cigarettes or something like that? Okay. So there's different things here. Okay. You can tell which way he's been led to believe by the media he consumes, that his mind instantly went that. Now, the question is, statistically, is that a real threat or not? I guess it doesn't matter if it's a real threat if he perceives it as a threat in the encounter. I don't know. Maybe I'm digging myself a hole here.
No, I think your viewpoint is very it's unbiased. To me, you're presenting a very equal view.
To me, again, none of this should have happened, because why did the bank call the police directly? You know, that's the bigger question for me that I want to know the answer for.
That's very weird.
And that's what lends some hint to potential racism, I guess. I tried to look it up. I can't do it by the exact bank address. Looking at a map of statistics of the area, depending on where in Livonia is a very heavily white area. But I mean, you know, a few blocks over is more a heavily African American area. So I was trying to determine if it was something where he was at his normal bank. Did he not normally freak the bank? Would the people there be predisposed to have some sort of racism? I don't know that I can determine that from just
I don't think we ever will.
Of the area.
I don't think
it's
an
interesting reaction. It's an unfortunate reaction, and it's probably based on his lawyer's success in the previous suit. It's probably not going to turn out too well for the bank. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think the bigger point is the irony. If this did happen, the irony is just like, what in the world?
And you know, who knows? I want to be skeptical because we live, and I'm in no way saying that that's what this man is doing. But we live in a world where Jussie Smollett happened.
Yeah. Oh, it did.
And a wise old neighbor who I had that passed away when I was probably still in high school. But he always used to say, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. And so that's kind of the approach I take to a lot of these news stories.
It's interesting.
And in the era of deep fakes, we're going to have to be to the point where it's believe none of what you hear, none of what you see, unless you were there in person. So, you know.
So we continue on here with another potentially racist situation here.
Oh boy, why do we have to?
Why are we ending the show on this note? This is supposed to be our final segment.
That chose it.
I know.
We're like, let's do this story too.
I know. Wow, guys. This is a Texas teen.
What?
A Texas teenager. He's been told to cut his dreadlocks in order to walk at graduation.
Right. So apparently,
fill me in. I need more details than that.
So
here you go. From what I gathered from the story. All right. So what happened is you had he goes to a school. In Texas, a high school.
Private, public,
school.
Public. Barbers High School.
It is public. Anyway, and they went on Christmas break, and after they came back from Christmas break, they had instituted a new rule about haircuts and how that basically when your hair was down, it had to be off your collar because he has dreadlocks.
Hold on. Okay. Hold on. So they literally changed the rules in the middle of the school year.
Yeah, apparently.
This is more information.
I initially have a huge issue with this. What in the world? Number one,
is this in Mount Bellevue, Texas, right, Barbers Hill Independent School District?
Yeah.
Yes.
From my understanding, the original rule limited hair cut to be you had to be off of the collar. Okay, it didn't specifically say anything about hair length.
So
and it didn't matter.
Originally, it was written hair must be off the collar.
It was like
which
it had to be off
probably
the collar.
Originally,
but it didn't limit it to exactly like how it was off the collar as long as it was. Is
correct,
what it
because
like.
the original wording probably assumed it was cut short enough to be off the collar.
Right.
Then someone presented the case, my hair is pulled up, it's off my collar. So that was allowed to stand for a while.
This kid has been growing out his dreadlocks for however many years, and it had always had his hair off of the collar by using, by tying it up.
Good for him.
Okay. And so, so they changed the rule to where when it's down, it has to be off of the collar and clean cut and off the collar. And so now he is not in dress code, so they're not going to, unless he cuts his hair, let him walk at graduation. They will let him finish the school year and finish out and get everything. It's just he's not allowed to walk.
I find this ridiculous. Not from the race perspective, but from the this is ridiculous perspective.
Well, the thing is, if you watch the video, you hear in the video his mother explicitly telling you that they knew he was out of dress code. But
before or now?
No. Before, they knew he was out of dress code, but he had his hair up, so it was okay. But now that he has to have his hair down, he's out of dress code, and they're all up in arms over it.
So as I'm reading,
he was following the letter of the law.
But what I'm saying though is his mother has openly admitted that even before this rule change, he was technically out of dress code. It's just the school district has let it go.
Clarified.
Yeah, it's just let it go all of this time.
Okay, so let's speak to that. Lazy leadership. Lazy leadership. We've talked about this before on the show.
Matt, right. I have their student handbook pulled up. Right
okay,
here.
Good.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's do it.
Let's hear it. Let's dive into this.
It says it's the 2017-2018 student handbook, and it reflects the change that you were talking about the wording for males hair grooming. As I'm skimming through it, it does not. I'm actually surprised that it is a public school, because it says it's an independent school district.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how.
So I'm not sure how that works in Texas.
It sounded like it was kind of like a private school, but yet it was technically a public school. So I don't know if it's just
it
like
definitely
a school or something like that.
It sounds very similar to the dress codes we would have grown up in the private schools and even the college that we went to, and from many standpoints. And so it.
All right, so let me give you guys some clarification on this independent school district. It's a type of school district. Primarily for primary and secondary education, that operates as an entity independent and separate from any municipality, county, or state. So it is basically a private school. It is a private school.
It's independent. In other words, it's not this city's school. You could send your kids from anywhere to it, but is it still a government-funded school and run school? Does that make sense? I went to a private school where you paid tuition, and it was not
run by a school board. Independent, let's see. City of Dallas and Dallas Independent Schools are completely separate run entities.
Or is it essentially a secular private school?
See, that I cannot
it's hard to
tell you.
Okay. Either way,
right off the bat.
they have a fairly strict, as I'm skimming it, a fairly strict by modern standards dress code, from the fact that they are very clear about their grooming standards. You can't have lewd, vulgar, obscene messages, illegal substances. It says strapless, barebacks, bare midriffs, low necklines unacceptable. Determining the proper length of shirts. This would be for girls. Arms can be raised above the head without a bare midriff showing. No see-through materials. They can't have long sleeves. When you're wearing like hoodies and sweatshirts, it says that the sleeves, let's say it says the sleeves and the shirt tail length may not extend below the wrist in a normal standing position. So in other words, like they want people to look clean and sharp. And they're also prohibiting, when I get into the male hair, or just hair in general, hair must be clean and well groomed, geometric or unusual patterns, including mohawks and faux hawks, shaved or cut into the hair are not permitted. So that seems pretty general. That's not targeting any one race that I would say. I mean, if anything, the Mohawks and Fauxhawks seem to be targeting white dudes in school. Unusual hair color or color variation is not permitted. Ribbons or other hair accessories should not distract from the learning environment. And this is the part we're getting into. Male students' hair will not extend at any time below the eyebrows or below the earlobes. Male students' hair must not extend below the top of a t-shirt collar or be gathered or worn in a style that would allow the hair to extend below the top of a t-shirt collar, below the eyebrows, or below the earlobes when let down. So we assume that's the part that was changed.
Right.
Is before it just said it can't extend below the collar. Got to be clean shaven. And sideburns must not extend below the bottom of the earlobe or flare at the bottom, and you can't cut designs or lines in their eyebrows. And then there's a lot of other things too. So it sounds like they're fairly strict. It sounds like what is happening to me is originally that line said it can't extend below the collar, and the people writing it couldn't fathom that someone would grow their hair out and pull it up.
Yeah.
And then they decided they didn't want that, and they changed the rule.
Yeah.
Right.
Was it race motivated? That's the question, and I don't think you can prove that.
The hard part to tell is whether or not he's the only student that did this. That's
and here's did some white guy have his hair pulled up? Yeah.
Right. You don't know how many other students that might have been like the big thing at this school is to grow your hair out, and then you just put it up.
Look, guys,
do the man buns.
They might be trying to get rid of the man buns. I'm just
saying. We went to a conservative university, and do you know how many times we, tucked that hair back just high enough off the ear so we wouldn't get in trouble for hair check.
Yep.
Yeah. I've always hated my hair long, so I didn't have too much of that issue. But
that's because you're balding. So
no.
Wow.
But can I play devil's advocate here in this situation? I think the argument that's going to be made is that even if the men making this decision or whoever's on the school board, if the school board made this decision, if they're a bunch of old white men, then old white men believe men's hair should be short, and they believe that because of their essentially racial biases that white men have short hair. And so you see the potential logic that even if the school says, look, we just changed the rule because our rule is don't touch the collar, and there was a loophole. That was a correct loophole. They were technically not in violation of the rule when their hair was pulled up. That did not meet what we intended for the look of our students. So we changed the rule to fully reflect what we intend for the look of our students. But the claim that could potentially be made on the one side is that desiring that look is racist. What do you think of that claim? I don't know if that's.
I think it's an interesting view. I still come back to why change the rule in the middle of the year.
I don't know.
No.
It's
middle of the year. Middle of the year seems wrong. If you're going to change it at the end of a year in the summer break.
Give people 2 months to figure out their haircut.
What we don't know from the article,
school or not.
Right.
What we don't know from the article is, had this been an ongoing fight? So in other words, had a student showed up with long hair pulled up, the school said, you're violating the rules. It says don't touch your collar. The parents and the student say, look, it's not touching my collar. It's pulled up. And so after fighting it for a semester, the school board said, okay, at Christmas break, we're going to sit down. How do we correct this?
I still think
and be more clear in our language. And they corrected it mid-semester.
Wait.
I don't think it's a wise decision. Correct. I don't know that that's the time.
It's also, like I said, in one of the videos, I can't find, I don't know what they did with the link, but in one of the videos, they had the mom, openly admitting that they understood they were out of violation for the rule before this rule change.
And see, this is why it's so messy because.
And if that's the case, it's like,
then you knew the rule,
right? It's like you knew the rule. Why are we rewarding somebody for?
Yeah. So there's so many different sides here.
Just because it's quote unquote my heritage or whatever else, it's like, yeah, but you knew going into this that you were potentially going to get in trouble.
Hey,
and the thing is,
guys.
What?
We watched the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of things are excused for heritage sake.
Right.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
Seems so good to hear, right? But you're right, Ben, because if it's just the school changed the rule mid-year, I'm actually against the school and saying, look, you can't change it mid-year and expect a bunch of kids to shave their heads and not walk.
Right.
Okay. Then if the parents knew ahead of time that they were violating the spirit of the law, maybe not the letter, and now all of a sudden they want this exemption. Well, if you knew you're breaking a rule, you're breaking a rule. And a rule is a rule, and why should you get special? So, like, I could come down on either side of the issue depending on what the actual facts are. And as most journalism these days does, it does not provide us enough facts.
No.
So we wasted a bunch of time talking about that and potentially angered potential listeners because of our analysis of it. I always forget I'm being recorded when I start talking about some of these things.
That's the front porch show right there.
But again, we're just trying to have an honest discussion without offending anyone.
Maybe you are.
Which is impossible these days. We know. If you have an honest discussion, you're going to offend someone.
All right. You want to talk about offending people? What about the electric Hummer?
It's probably got more torque. It's probably got more torque than the.
So how does it compare to the Tesla?
I don't know yet. It has not. It's not out yet. So we'll see. It looks like a truck. It looks like it's just. It looks like it's like a Dodge Ram or maybe like a GMC. What is it? What's their big truck? Sierra or whatever it is.
Can I point something out real quick?
Like
can I point something out from the last article, from the last thing?
No.
Not to go backwards, but I have discovered on the school's website a dress code exemption form that has some questions. You're requesting an exemption from the dress code. Does your child have a medical condition or disability that impacts their ability to comply? Does your child request a religious exemption? Or number 3, what is your other, if it's no to those two, what's your other reason for exemption?
So what's the issue?
The date at the bottom of the form is 1/1 of 2020. So I don't know if they just updated the form or if this is a new edition. But I see that they have provided a potential dress code exemption form.
Okay, if the date for that is 1/1 of 2020, the story for this came out on, I believe it was the 28th of, or 22nd of
January.
So
yep.
So that form at least existed.
An exemption for this.
I don't know if it was updated or not. Well, and this would fall under the explain your other reason for wanting an exemption, and then we'll see if it's valid or not. So anyway, sorry, I just saw that too. Electric Hummer, I don't know.
So basically, they didn't actually read the rule book. They only read that one rule and then had a hissy fit without realizing there was.
I don't know if I can make that call on the information available, though. I don't know that I can make that judgment.
What am I looking at here? The electric Hummer. I'm seeing one modification of this vehicle that is like this squat little tiny SUV thing. The HX. It's the Hummer HX electric car. Who's building Hummer now, anyways? I thought Hummers were gone.
It's GM.
It's GM?
Yeah, okay. I thought GM had the Hummer brand.
Yeah, it's GMC technically.
Okay. Those look absolutely ugly. I like the original ones.
It doesn't look like a Hummer. It doesn't look like a Hummer. It looks like a GMC truck with the Hummer like front end on it. It's like the body, all of it from basically the front bumper and grill are Hummer.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is a GMC truck.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, you're right. You're right.
Interesting.
Oh, see, that is so ugly. I did not like that at all.
I just find it kind of ironic that like GM it's got to be a huge marketing thing for them, because they're going from like the world's worst gas guzzler to making it electric.
So that it's just the world's worst electricity guzzler.
Right.
Otherwise known as just the world's worst vehicle.
It probably, if the Tesla gets like 400 miles, that means this thing will get like 50 miles and run out of battery.
Are you guys looking at the other pictures of these little tiny things? There's one in England. The Hummer HX.
I'm not obsessed.
Look up Hummer
I don't
HX.
really care about electric vehicles.
No, neither am I. I like my gas.
I'm not against them if they become
not
to
everybody
be
does.
a useful, and when the technology is practical and prevalent and useful, then maybe I'll use it. But
by the way, I read like a Popular Mechanics article or something the other day that they have finally designed. Now it's probably going to take 20 years to get there, but like they've
like 35.
It's probably going to take 20 years to get there.
And then they'll decide not
no,
to.
The article was promising 5 years, so I figured 20 years.
Okay.
They figured out a battery technology that will double the charge of a battery. And I was like,
have that. They just don't want to release it because it's not prudent.
The military probably already has it.
It's like those rumors of, how that they've already got the cars and the engines, they've already made them so that they can do like 75 to 150 miles to a gallon. It's just they don't ever release any of it because it would be bad for business.
Because the oil companies, because big oil,
right?
JP, Rockefeller, whatever,
guys,
and that all these big oil and blah 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 companies bought all the schematics and rights and all that for
I swear, once a show, the tin foil gets broken out, and we start putting it on, and then the radio beams can't get into our heads, and
it's important. Protect the frogs.
www.thefrontporchshow.com. Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio. Basically anywhere you want to listen, you can hear us. You can find us.
Yep.
On Twitter, on Facebook.
It's like compact sand.
And they're jumping up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down.
Out with a whimper.